Welcome, 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 and happy Wednesday. It is hump day. It is also none other than Mamba Day, August 24th. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Magazine Live. I'm your host, Q, coming to you yet again from my mother's basement, and I'm joined by my co-host, P. How goes it, P?
It goes fantastically, as always. I was trying to figure out if I could dab at the same time, but I fucked it up. Anyway, we got some exciting shit for you guys today. Q, what do we got?
We got a jam-packed episode. We'll kick news and notes off in just a moment here. And we're going to be joined by none other than, am I allowed to say his last name on air?
No, probably not.
I don't know, but we have a very fun guest coming in with us in about 30 minutes, and we're going to talk all things conspiracy theories in Bitcoin. Our homie who is joining us is part of the Bitcoin Magazine fam. He's the art curator, so any and all art exhibits that you've seen are put together by him and our friend Tommy, Young Gucci T. So this will be a fun combo that we've been looking forward to. And of course, we got another episode of Fed Watch with Ansel and CK. Let's dive into the news. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler, also known as the Devil's Little Dildo, describes his agency as the cop on the beat for crypto industry. I forgot that I asked for a cop on the beat, but while I'm at it, can I also ask for Gary Gensler to just show us his dildo collection?
I think that's a reasonable request.
I don't mean to pick on truly the most despicable person I know. But like the dude just sucks the life out of the room. And I want to just go back. If you didn't catch our last episode with Regulatory Jason, Gary Gensler more or less admit to having a gay love affair with a Republican congressperson. So yeah, Gary Gensler.
Wait, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I mean, the affair part, bad,
the affair. It's the fact that he lied to his female wife.
There we go.
And made a vow, and then
broke wedlock.
Mind you, all of this is bullshit. I don't even know if I can say it's bullshit because, like, yes, I'm talking out of my ass, but like, I could actually be right about these things. The thing I know for certain is Gary Gensler is Satan's dildo.
I mean, I think the thing. You make a good point. I mean, when you're talking out of your asshole, there's a risk of spreading false news. On the other hand, your asshole is very wise. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Thank you. My asshole appreciates such kind words that you share. But enough about Gary Gensler and truly just like, but my real feelings of this are, oh, really? A government official saying like, hey, I'm the one in charge of figuring out what's right and wrong here because you voted for me and told me that I have that power. No, I fucking didn't, Gary Gensler. Shut the fuck up and sit your ass down, you fucking dweeby ass nerd. Go back to the front of the class and keep fucking being a brown-nosing teacher's pet, you fucking loser. Anyways, what did Trudeau do?
Leaked documents coming out of Canada. The government has an architecture plan set out, very similar to the way that they pass bills in the United States, and it has been leaked to the Counter Signal, which is a newspaper there, revealing Trudeau has plans to install firearm armories for militarized climate police force. So basically, they're trying to make a militarized police force. While, you know, in all seriousness, this is not a good thing. Obviously, Canada has very different gun laws than the United States. I do get a little bit of a chuckle out of like a police officer coming over and like, you farted, like, oh, here's a $250 fine. You're going around. But obviously, they are trying to weaponize a new police force called the Climate Police Force. I don't even know to what extent they would do. Like, do they go to your house and like check the meter? Like, oh, you've used too much electricity this month. Like there's an extra fine for that. I don't know. It is not good, though. And I know that this was leaked and it was just tweeted out and announced very recently. It's going to be interesting to see if Trudeau walks back or if he doubles down on this. So what are your thoughts, guys? Initial thoughts on this?
I think it's fucking ridiculous. Why? First of all, what is a climate police force? Number one. Number two, why the fuck do they need guns? Like, what are they going to do? Storm a cow fart factory, which is to say, a place that produces beef, and then like shoot them or the people? Like, how does that even work? I just think it's. I'm imagining like the kids in Captain Planet, but like with guns. So instead of like the power of wind, the power of fire, the power of earth and heart, it's like those little kids just in their like crazy little jumpsuits, but just with like AK-47s, just murdering everyone. I think that's how this is going to go down.
So P, I know you were in your like 70s when that show came out, but Q and I were young lads. And I never realized until now, I'm like, oh my God, that was just like a government propaganda campaign. Great show, by the way.
100%.
Great show. But
Yeah, it's good.
I will say, like, in defense of Justin Trudeau, when you are a tyrannical dictator who thinks like you shit gold and your words are law, you will think that this is actually the right thing to do. So in a way, I almost feel sorry for him because he's so stupid, but he's like gotten to that point of stupidity where he actually thinks he's smart. Like he's like gone full circle and he's now like really
They
smart.
got you. They're on to you, bro.
They're listening. They're all listening to me now. Look, all in all, like exactly what I just said to Gary Gensler. Like you could just take out Gary Gensler and call Justin Trudeau like Satan's fucking dildo. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you so fucking moronic? The one difference is people actually voted for Justin Trudeau to have this power or his powers. What they didn't realize was like he thought it meant he's a dictator forever and is going to do whatever the fuck he wants, feels like, or thinks he should. Yeah, this is going to be really fun. We have not seen the end of the newest dictatorship of the dictatorship of Canada. Can we call them that? We should call Canada something else. Let's start that. Let's spitball some ideas. It's got to have something to do with dictatorship. Like, you know, the Democratic Republic of Congo, I want to call Canada the dictatorship of Canada now.
Yeah, I mean,
I sound ridiculous. I know.
I mean, look, we're talking about conspiracy theories here. I think maybe something around rapeseed oil, something, you know, the Federated States of rapeseed oil production, something like that. Seems like it'll really just doesn't make any sense and also like hits them where it hurts. It's my take.
Perhaps. Or, could we do like New Cuba? What if we just called Canada New Cuba?
This is quality conversation.
We
are giving you the details you need.
Right.
We're moving on.
Who usurped Kanye West as the richest rapper?
The richest rapper in the world, not Kanye West, not Jay-Z, not Dr. Dre, but Heather Morgan, aka Razzle Khan, tweeted that she is not involved in any crypto project, NFT project, anything with her name. She's not involved and does not endorse any of them. Now, who is Heather Morgan or Razzle Khan? We're going to call her Razzle Khan. That name's a great name. She and her husband were involved in the Binance hack, stealing almost 120,000 Bitcoin. There's been a lot of talks that they do not believe that they are smart enough to do this hack. They looks like they were kind of like the sheep, like the hacker kind of like funneled money through them and they had access to it, obviously, but basically they were kind of the pawns. It was a very complex hack how they got Binance to basically siphon off close to 120,000 Bitcoins. But even at today's market price, I looked it up, it's over $2.4 billion that her and her husband would have. Obviously, they were brought in within the last year, or at least they were caught. They were buying gift cards, and one of them got I forget how they did it. They did a really bad coin join and basically left some dust, as it's called, and they basically used it and they doxed it to one of their identities. And then in the process of doing that, it was linked to a credit card, or there was some weird like credit card purchase that they somehow linked to it. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was very funny. I think Q brought up before the show, he does not know what's going on with them. I think that they're currently indicted. So I don't know what's going on with their trial, but it looks like it's going to take some time for it to play out, obviously. But very interesting. She just tweeted this yesterday, and I found it fascinating.
Yeah, I'm gonna. When did this come out? Do you guys remember? Was it 2021 or 2020? It was 2021, right?
What?
2021. I think it was the tail end of 21 when they got caught.
No, dude, they got caught at the beginning of this year.
Oh, that's right. January, February this year.
February of 2022.
Yeah. So to me, I just want to say, I think this was like the memes that came out of this crime, and specifically them being caught, are the best thing that happened so far in 2022. If you have not seen like the insane, debauched, just
their TikToks
horribly embarrassing images that have been turned into Telegram stickers and just are all over the internet. Like, go look them up. Like, do yourself a favor, because these people are fucking idiots. And
Razzle Khan. I'll drop her name in the chat.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
honestly, like with a rap name like that, you just know they suck. But I want to talk on this topic, a different side of the spectrum. And that is the conversation we hear a lot from the FUD camp saying, well, Bitcoin's used in black markets. Bitcoin's used by like bad people. It's used illegally. News flash, you literally cannot use Bitcoin without everyone knowing the transactions. You can remain anonymous. You can protect your identity, but each transaction is out there in the fucking ledger. What was the fucking Solar Winds hack that happened last year? And they were paid in Bitcoin. And then it took the government like less than a month to find out where those hackers were. Like, Bitcoin is the worst thing you could use as part of a crime, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole idea of Bitcoin, you know, that Satoshi, part of the way that it was created was pseudo-anonymity, which is not the same as anonymity. Bitcoin's primary focus is being sound money, and that means a fully auditable blockchain in terms of figuring out where every UTXO came from and where it's been. So you can maintain pseudo-anonymity in Bitcoin, and there are a ton of tools that have been built on top of, you know, Bitcoin's layer one in order to help preserve your privacy and anonymity, which is an absolute right, as you said, Q. The frame that Bitcoin is, or that privacy is something that only terrorists need, is just straight psyop. Like, if you accept that argument, you are a fucking NPC and you need to wake up. But yeah, blockchains, Bitcoin specifically, are terrible for privacy, and unless you take very specific steps to maintain your anonymity and your privacy. And that's just a completely fallacious argument that gets tossed around. That comes from the kind of dark web.
I think the best comment was from Odell when he was like, less than 1 million views, but 2 billion in the bank, or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
Let's talk Rockdale. Let's talk about, you know, the positives of Bitcoin and Bitcoin saving a city, P.
Hell yeah. So the city of Rockdale, Texas, was headed into the pits, flying into the side of the mountain, and Bitcoin has revitalized that town and allowed the town to basically thrive where all of their industries have kind of abandoned it. More specifically, two of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies in the world are battling it out for electricity in this town, which only has 5,600 people. So there's BitDeer, which is kind of a side project that was spun off from Bitmain, not a side project. It's an entity within Bitmain, and then Riot Blockchain, which is one of the biggest and the earliest publicly traded mining companies in America, are competing in this tiny town. Why are they competing? Because in this town, there used to be the world's largest aluminum plant. And that plant had access to super cheap power. So that aluminum plant has gone down. It's been defunct for a while. And so now Bitcoin miners, because electricity is so cheap in that area, are moving in because Bitcoin miners are really, really good at finding cheap stranded energy and then providing utility for that energy. So previously, this electricity was just not doing anything because the transmission costs of Bitcoin the transmission costs of electricity are significant. When you build an electrical power plant, when you have a generation facility of whatever type, whether it's geothermal or wind or hydroelectric or a nuclear, you have to build it at a significant overcapacity, because when you transmit electricity through power lines, even high voltage lines, which lose less energy per distance traveled than low voltage lines, you still are losing a lot. So plants have to be built so that they can overproduce electricity, so that they can handle surges, which happen, just as seasonal and as specific events happen. And then also they have to be built so that they can take into account that drop off. So these types of systems where you have an industry that kind of has died down, and then it's just not being used. You're still producing electricity, it's not being used. Bitcoin miners are able to come in and produce Bitcoin with that surplus cheap electricity. And then Bitcoin can be sent anywhere in the world, essentially instantaneously, for very low fees. And so it has the opportunity to revitalize these towns that otherwise would be falling by the wayside. It's pretty cool stuff.
Definitely, I agree.
Oops, wrong one. All right, let's talk iFinex. Chris.
Top crypto company iFinex defies U.S. sanctions that hid stolen assets. iFinex is the company that issues Tether, so they're more commonly linked or known as Tether. So obviously, we've talked about Tornado Cash a bunch over the last couple weeks. They were obviously sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department. It is a coin join mechanism or mixer for Ethereum. In this, basically, the U.S. regulators were saying that they are blacklisting all addresses coming out of Tether, coming out of Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash then proceeded, a whale in Tornado Cash was sending 0.1 ETH to all these different addresses, basically blacklisting everyone's Ethereum addresses. And the way that Ethereum works is it normally only has a single address, where normally best case scenario in Bitcoin is to always generate a new address. And that's to prevent like anonymity sets and also to not dox how much Bitcoin you have in total. But basically, they have not complied with the request to blacklist or block addresses. Their chief technology officer, Paolo Ardino, said in a statement, normally complies with requests from U.S. authorities. They have not been reached out by U.S. authorities to further freeze transactions coming out of Tornado Cash. I find this very, very interesting. It seems like obviously governments are going to attack various cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin companies, crypto companies, whatever the like. It remains to be seen what companies are going to try and fight against it. I really do think Bitcoin is a fight against the state. Obviously, we say it's like the Trojan horse, that they're going to be forced to use it over time as fiat currencies fail broadly. Here in the United States, more slowly, but still failing. And then obviously abroad, starting with emerging markets. It's going to be a matter of time that companies and individuals fight back. Anything else to add there, P and Q?
I'm just going to reiterate the point I made. And I saw this comment on Twitter that, like I said yesterday, we are foolish to look at the Tornado Cash situation and laugh at them and act as though this can't happen to us. They may not be necessarily sitting there planning this out of, hey, when are we going to go after the Bitcoiners? But this is a framework for governments to then follow. It doesn't even have to be the US government. This could very well be a foreign government going against Bitcoiners or other crypto proponents in a different nation state. Like this is something that we should be paying attention to, despite not being directly impacted by this time. So I just want to hammer that point home. Chris, I think you did an excellent job bringing all the details to light on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead,
Chris.
Stop talking!
We talked about this yesterday, but I said I didn't have anything to say. I lied. As you said, Q, just because this is happening on another chain to Ethereum does not mean that this does not affect us all. And Ethereum kind of acts as like an upstream, or in some cases acts as an upstream shield for some of the Bitcoin related stuff. And I think in this instance, we all have to kind of take this very seriously.
Cool. I agree with that. And now I'm going to bring up a story that I'm going to keep bringing up until Bitcoin Twitter just fucking cancels me at this point. But Papa Biden actually woke up and I don't know, I guess he thought it was 2022 for once and decided to, although this has not yet happened, I want to caveat this by saying this has not yet happened. This has only been reported by all of mainstream media. So I'll believe it when I see the actual signature and see the details of this, but it does look like President Biden will be putting forward student loan relief to the tune of $10,000 for borrowers who make less than $125,000 a year, families who make less than $250,000, and an additional $10,000 for any Pell Grant recipients, bring the total up to a potential help of $20,000 for some borrowers, $10,000 for other borrowers. I have too great of an incentive to sit here and say anything other than like, I'm happy about this. I I go back and forth on this, I do recognize that this is a debt that is listed as an asset on our balance sheets. And this is, there's an argument to be made that this will exacerbate inflation. I personally fall into the camp of, I don't think this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think the camel's back was broken a long time ago, and we're frankly just kicking a dead horse. So like, sorry, but there were a few gold coins left in the dead horse, and I got my hands on some. Thank you to everyone who thinks I'm a fucking jackass over this.
Wait.
Well, my final point is this. My hat goes off to anyone who did pay off your loans. My hat goes off to anyone who didn't have to take loans. To my friends in battle who did, who this is a huge help. I hope you are able to capitalize on this situation. However, I do want to caveat something. We've talked about this a lot. I'm going to reiterate this point. Based on the numbers that we looked up yesterday on the show, the cost of a college education, undergraduate education, has increased by more than $10,000 since I went to school 10 years ago. So this $10,000 is a Band-Aid that helps my generation a little bit more than I think it's going to help the younger kids. But there's also the larger underlying issue. This does not solve the fact that the cost of a college education has inflated to levels that just don't make sense feasibly or economically. Like, the conversation I had with my dad over dinner last night was he paid $8 a credit when he was in undergrad. $8 a credit. I think P, you said you paid like $2 a credit because you went to school 20 years before my dad did. But like,
no, we talked about this. It was a handful of shiny seashells.
Right. Sorry. Apologies. It was no fiat, just seashells that you picked up on the seashore. The underlying issue is still there. And that is unfortunately what worries me, that we may have put a Band-Aid on it today, but then what happens when this generation that's starting to go to college is taking out debt, and then instead of being $250,000 or $200,000 in the hole, they're $300,000, potentially $400,000 in the hole off of just undergrad. So we have not actually solved the issue, and I respect and understand that. I know I have an incentive and a bias to celebrate this, which I will. I hope Bitcoin Twitter cancels me. I welcome that. If you want to have a conversation with me about like why I feel this way, like, we can, feel free to DM me and we can have that conversation. But ultimately, like, I'm going to celebrate this because I get to celebrate this. Just like how American Airlines celebrated when they got a fucking bailout, or when Ford Motor Company celebrated when they got a bailout.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting conversation, right? Because as I think we talked about the other day, I kind of am on the other side of this coin, right? Where I was very, very focused on not going into debt because I was sort of raised with this idea that, like, you do not take on debt. Like, you earn your money and you save it and you spend, which is wrong categorically. Like, overall in Gestalt, it is not an effective strategy to not take on debt. Debt is very cheap, generally speaking, and it is a tool like anything else in order to amass additional wealth. When I say wealth, I mean Bitcoin. However, so I also celebrate, like, anyone who gets to take advantage of this, like, fuck yeah, you're awesome, Q, we're friends. Like, I totally support it. It also does sting, though, because as someone we talked about yesterday who did not go, who had the opportunity to go to colleges, which truly I don't believe I would have gotten a better education at. But, you know, if you have an Ivy League college in your resume, that certainly opens a lot of doors. I would have had to fight those battles less, you know, tooth and nail. So it does sting that, like, I made what I consider to be sort of like strategic decisions, the right decisions, that ended up sort of not mattering as much. Now, obviously, 10K or 20K, depending on the circumstances, that's not going to, is not going to pay for a significant fraction of most people's college education. So this is not like, you know, complete debt forgiveness. This is literally just a little bit of a smear of debt forgiveness in order to kind of like.
I will equate it, not to interrupt you. I received the Pell Grant, so I will get the full 20K. 20K is one semester's worth of college tuition for me.
There you go.
Just tuition, not even room and board.
Yeah. So yesterday
to really put into scope, it's one semester paid off. That's
Yeah.
really all that this does for me in the school that I went to.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about yesterday, if you're going to Harvard undergrad and then Harvard Medical School, you're paying about $750,000. All said and done, this is a drop in the fucking bucket. Now, most people's college education costs less than that, but apparently, as of yesterday, the average college education, what was it? It was like $50,000 to $70,000 a year. So this is much more of a kind of PR campaign than it is designed to actually incentivize people to
1,000%.
Yeah, to pursue education in a different way. I think it's awesome. I think that people should be, we should be incentivizing education at the same time. As I said, it's annoying that good on you, rather than trying to actually fix the problem, which is to say, one argument would be just reducing inflation. That's a very complicated issue, obviously, but also trying to incentivize higher education systems to charge less or to be able to charge less. That isn't talked about. That's not a problem that we're trying to solve. These are specific measures designed to get people supportive of Biden and the current administration, and to kind of rally the base. And that's really all they are.
I want to pull up one of these comments from the YouTube chat. I pound this drum a lot, TJ. No one was up in arms. No one batted an eye when we bailed out the banks. No one batted an eye when we bailed out fucking Ford Motor Company because they were an investment vehicle, no longer a car manufacturing company. And same with fucking Chrysler. And no one batted an eye when we bailed out the fucking airlines that decided to take all of their money that you gave them and give it in a massive fucking dividend for over a decade. And they didn't plan well for the situation that happened in 2020. So yeah, I'm a little passionate about this because I have a strong bias towards this. But
no, that is a great fucking point. I actually hadn't thought about it that way. For those that don't know, Bitcoin was created out of the 2008 financial crisis. The first block.
That's when I created it. I wrote it in the Genesis block, guys. For those that are wondering.
There you go. Satoshi Nakamoto. And
I complained. I'm just saying it's in the Genesis block. If you guys want to look. Second bailout of banks. That was me.
Yeah. Well done.
I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. Please don't come after me. I've got 0 Bitcoin. Lost them in both.
No, it's on camera now. Yeah. Nobody gave two shits. By the way, I'm going on a full tangent here. Put it on your bingo card. I was a huge fan of Obama. I was like, yeah, we're gonna change or everything. We're gonna to use a Trumpism. We're gonna drain the swamp. Let's fucking go. Obama promised so many things in his campaigns, and then the truth is, none of it fucking happened. He was like, I'm gonna close Guantanamo Bay. Fuck that shit. And then of course, the reality of the political machine grinds whoever gets into it up and spits them out, and none of that shit changed. Same with Trump, actually. Trump was like, I'm gonna drain the swamp, everything's gonna be better, I'm gonna change everything. Didn't change shit. And
that's how he ran in re-election. I didn't get to drain the swamp enough. There, it's so deep. It's so deep how deep it runs.
Exactly. And it's just that experience for me personally was what kind of got me later into Bitcoin, which is just they're, as I said before, they're all Washington Generals. It's the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. When I say this, I mean the political parties. It's all bullshit. Nobody batted an eye when we were bailing out banks. To your point, Q, why is this any different? You're absolutely right. It's not. In my mind, this is infinitely better than doing that. Why not just forgive all student debt and let's just fucking go? We should do that.
Yeah. I think I'm in a unique position as well because I personally had paid off my college debt as well. I do have a bunch of younger siblings that this does help them. So I do understand me as a family, it helps my family overall. And Q is a good friend of mine. So I'm very happy that he got it relieved as well. At the same time, it does feel like I got kind of fucking slighted. It'd be cool if I left just 10K that I didn't pay off or whatever. And I was in a weird spot where I paid it off right as the pandemic was happening. And then fortunately I didn't lose my job, but I took a pay reduction. So I'm like, oh, so much for, having all this extra money that I was dumping into college loans. My company's like, hey, you're still working 5 days a week, but we're only going to pay you for 4 of those days. So it's man, getting really slighted, but I'm happy to be in Bitcoin. It protects me against the basement of money. There was one last point I was going to, fun fact. Q actually might know this because he saw a lot of people have seen The Big Short, but you've reread the book and saw the movie. At the end of the credits, when the screen goes black, how many bankers went to jail? P, I'm asking you because I think Q knows.
Fucking 0.
Actually, one of them. He was one guy. He drew the short straw. He was a junior executive, not even a CEO. What?
You're right. It was the guy.
Yeah, there's one junior executive that was on a trading desk. I can imagine just Jamie Dimon coming like, Billy, you've been such a great guy, but you drew the short straw. You have to spend 18 months in a white collar prison. It won't be that bad. There's pool tables, there's bars in this prison, but no, it's very nice. But yeah, he spent like 18 months, got on good behavior. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Overall, none of the big heads of these banks went to jail. So very, very funny.
I see a lot of people in the chats asking me or saying things like, I hope you buy Bitcoin with that. I will fully disclose and admit, to Chris's point, like I had the money in a lump sum ready to just pay it off right before like COVID really kicked off. And then I genuinely made the decision of, let me take this amount of money and let me see what I can make in the stock market. And I made decent scratch in the stock market. So for me, unfortunately, I technically have spent it on investment vehicles. I'm not a meme stalker. If you think I am, like you just don't know me, and I think it's adorable. But also, I could spend the money on whatever the fuck I want, and guess what? I will.
Can you do me a favor, Q? And by me, I mean the entire audience.
What's
Can
up?
you like double snap and say like, you don't know me? No? Okay.
All right, I think we left Dennis behind stage for a long time. If you guys want to take us to commercial real quick, bring him in here.
Yeah, we're going way long on news and notes, but I do want to remind everyone before we dip, tickets to Bitcoin Amsterdam are on sale right now. Use promo code BMLive to get 10% off and come join us in Europe for the biggest, baddest Bitcoin bash in all of Europe land, specifically Amsterdam. Let's go to commercial.
You are listening to Bitcoin Magazine. Listening to Bitcoin Magazine. Number one Bitcoin Magazine. You are listening to Bitcoin Magazine. Listening to Bitcoin Magazine. Number one Bitcoin Magazine. Samba.
What is up, everyone? Thank you for sticking through those commercial breaks. I am excited to introduce our guest for today, and yet he has not answered my oh, yeah, he did. Sorry. Dennis, what is up, my dude? How goes it?
Hi, guys. You're here. I'm here, too. Can you hear me?
Your audio was
No?
all over the place for me. Can you
Are
hear me?
you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is this the horriblest?
A little bit, but we're going to try to see if it corrects itself very quickly. D-Dog,
Ooh.
how do we best describe you other than the art connoisseur and art house expert that you are?
No, I think you did. No, I look, I work at a really awesome job. I like it a lot. Can you hear me at all?
No, you sound like a cartoon version of yourself, and it's like the quality is cutting in and out. I'm going to
God damn it.
I know.
I mean,
I'm going to suggest try going into the Bitcoin Magazine studio room. Kick whoever's out in there. Wave a knife around if you have to. Scream.
Wait, you're assuming that he's in Nashville.
He is in Nashville, I can tell. No, you're not. Holy shit. I thought
I'm
I
in
recognized
Austin.
that background. All right, fair enough.
Texas.
All right, well, hopefully you can
Austin,
find
Texas.
better internet. If not, and again, audience members, apologize for this confusion.
That sucks.
Dennis, can you go in, click settings, and then try lowering the bandwidth associated with your video. We'll see if that fixes it.
Okay.
It will make you look like shit, but I'm okay with that.
I- I can't pressure. This is
We can barely understand you.
Dennis wasn't kidding when yesterday I talked to him about coming on the show, and he was like, so like, I'm a boomer, so you're gonna have to walk me through technology.
So Q, while you were talking, I did change the title of this live stream to "Drinking Biden Milk Erases Student Debt."
Interesting.
But
So
I feel like
we've moved on from cockroach milk.
yeah, for now.
So I'm curious about, how does Biden milk get made? Like, does it come from his body, or does he just soak in a bath and we drink the bath water?
So not a lot of people know this, but President Biden is actually a monotreme. Monotremes are one of the earliest kind of animals on the path to mammals. So mammals have mammary tissue, hence the name. Monotremes, platypuses, echidnas, they actually don't have mammary tissue. They just have kind of like sweat glands that leak milk, and then their babies sort of lap it out of the troughs. President Biden has those.
Interesting. So what you're saying is Biden is not human.
I didn't say that.
means-
Those are your words, not mine.
Fine. I literally said those words, but you implied.
Yeah, that's fair. While we wait for Dennis to drink enough Biden milk so that he can rejoin us on the stream, let's take a moment to go through some of your favorite conspiracy theories. Ideally, Bitcoin focused, but not necessarily. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the flat Earth conspiracy theory. What are some of yours?
Oh, I mean, I'll go down a very aggressive one in a little bit, but we'll start with some Bitcoin stuff. I'm fully convinced that either one of two things is real. One of these two things are fact. Time travel can and never will be solved. Or Satoshi Nakamoto is actually the person right now working on time travel, solves it in the future, comes back in time with the original Bitcoin source code, and gives it to their younger self and essentially says, do not stop working on time travel. You have to solve it, because if you don't and someone else does, they will use it for terrible reasons and go back in time and buy up all the Bitcoin, and they will rule the world and we'll be fucked forever. So Satoshi goes back in time after he's created time travel, gives younger Satoshi the source code, says release it into the ethos, but you have to remain anonymous. Continue doing your work on time travel so that your life can finish like this. And then younger Satoshi goes, wait, what do you mean? And like this? And it goes boom. And time traveling Satoshi kills himself and destroys the technology of time travel with him. That is
That's pretty intense.
The real gist of where I'm going with this, though, is like, would you not, if you had the opportunity to time travel, and if anyone throws in the chat that they would go back and kill Hitler, like, no, you're full of shit. You would go back to 2011 and buy up as much Bitcoin as you possibly could. Like, if you are on this channel, that's what you would
That's
do.
fair. Because who knows what would happen if you killed Hitler?
Right? Like, we could actually potentially have never gone off the gold standard. Potentially.
That's true. Yeah. Also, I'm laughing because we adjusted your white balance before this episode, and you look like Michael Jackson right now.
I told you guys don't appreciate how tan I actually am. Like, they got really, both Chris and P, before we went live, the reason we were late was they looked at me, they're like, Q, you look too brown. We need to whitewash your skin a little bit.
Look, I felt threatened by your brownness, and I took advantage, and I apologize.
My question to you, what would you do if you could time travel?
It's a reasonable question. To be honest, I have not given it that much thought. I just would fear that if I went back in time, I mean, it depends on which version of time travel you believe in. Do you believe in the idea that time travel is simply like stepping between alternate dimensions? Sort of what is it?
Like a multiverse.
Everything, everywhere, all at once kind of situation. In which case, in theory, you could travel back to your original timeline without kind of fucking up everything, because it's impossible to know, a la the Ashton Kutcher documentary Butterfly Effect, how the changes that you might create in the timeline would ultimately affect the future outcome. I would not want to accidentally erase myself by fucking my grandmother, which, as everyone knows, is the first thing you do.
I mean, look, Marty McFly did try to sleep with his mom, but I don't think everyone wants to do that. I think you should go talk to a therapist and unpack that emotional feeling you have.
Like, that's just you projecting your Western fucking jingoist bullshit on me. Look, Chris or someone, can you throw a quick poll in the YouTube chat? Would you fuck your own grandmother if you could travel back in time? I think the data will show pretty unequivally that this is not an unreasonable thing for me to ask.
I don't get paid enough to deal with this on a daily basis.
Please.
Oh, is he back? Say something.
You guys sound like shit.
Yes. Oh,
We can
we
hear
sound
you
like
okay.
shit to you, but you sound great to us.
I thought this was you, like an elaborate trick here, where you like purposely make your voice sound really fucked up. So when I get on, I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm the mental one.
There was a
How does my
moment where
voice sound right now? Does it sound normal to you?
You are doing this. You are
What? No,
doing
not at
this.
all. This is
You
a
are
totally
doing-
normal voice.
I know this. I know this trick. It's really fucking funny though, you assholes. God.
All right. Well, Dennis, since you decided to show up late for the interview that I clearly asked you to show up to 15 minutes ago, what you've missed so far is I've shared my Satoshi Time Traveler.
Yeah.
I messaged you this yesterday. But right now, where we're stuck on is, what version of time travel do you believe in? Do you believe in multiversal time travel? Or do you believe that we are all just on a one singular timeline, that if you were to travel back in time, you can go like Biff Tannen and accidentally leave something from the future, which also, that would be step 2. I would do a 2-part, one time travel thing. I'd go back to 2011. I'd tell my high school self, don't sleep with that girl. Here is all the next Super Bowl and NBA champion winners for the next decade. Oh, and literally go spend every penny you have right now buying Bitcoin, drop out of college, take all the student loan debt you got and just use it for Bitcoin. Oh, and by the way, Biden will pay it back for you, so don't worry about paying those student loan debt off. That's my...
Yeah, this audio fucking sucks. You guys can hear me well, but I think mine is screwed up, so I'm sorry.
All right, here's what we're going to do. And just for context, Dennis is the incredible organizer behind, one of the 2 organizers behind the Bitcoin 2022 art gallery, which was a wild success. And he also, he's gone again. No, Dennis is also an expert. No, an aficionado, a believer, a scholar of crazy conspiracy theories. So we were going to try to ask him some questions about Bitcoin conspiracy theories. He's gone. He's back. We're going to try to make this work. I think, Dennis, if you can't hear us, we're going to type in the chat, and then you can just opine on these things as we fuck around. He's gone.
P,
again.
for the sake of Hammer Saw, let's stop cursing.
Okay. I'm not going to start cursing. Keep going.
So I fall into the camp for time travel where if I go back in time and do something like, no, I would not have had the life experiences. If I were to travel back in time to 2010, my life from that point to today would be vastly different than what it is now. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that's how time travel works. Can you hear me, Dennis?
Right,
I
sorry.
really did think that he was long trolling me there, and it really fucked with me. I drugs lately, but that really felt like you guys were fucking with me and I was on drugs.
Totally normal. Here's the question. Can you hear us, Dennis, and can you communicate to us clearly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, on
Outstanding.
drugs. Well, Q's on drugs. Q's probably
Whoa,
on drugs.
whoa. That what was last?
Was that
Uh,
uncalled for?
Okay, wait.
Everybody
Wait,
in the chat. I don't want to hurt.
Okay, wait. We got to dive in. We got to dive into it. We're 16 minutes in. Dennis, tell us, what is your favorite Bitcoin conspiracy theory?
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a couple ways we can start this. First of all, I think we should just lay some quick ground rules as to what is the difference between an actual conspiracy, magical synchronicity. I think this is important because you can get lost something as a conspiracy where it may be organized, like things organizing more magical. And
Dennis, we can't understand anything you're saying. Wait. Turn your camera off entirely. I'd rather have a black void, which feels strangely appropriate in the situation.
All right,
let's try that.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
ish.
Can you? It's shitty.
Try again. We'll try one more time and then we'll call it.
Any better? Show again.
Just keep talking.
Yeah.
All right, so lay it on the ground rules.
Is this better? Because I'm never going to be invited back again. Am I right? This
You
is
are
just
correct, sir.
what I have to deal with. Okay. Yeah. Quick ground rules. There is a I think there is a difference between a conspiracy and where like things are organizing in such a way that, and it's almost like that is akin to magic. Does that make any sense?
No, we can't.
I
can't
don't
hear you at all.
understand.
Yeah, I'm
here's the
sorry, my
truth.
friends.
No. Dennis, I just don't think the sentence you said made sense. I actually think that all of your words came out, but I just don't think that what you said made sense.
Yeah,
My friends,
okay.
I think we're gonna have to call it. This is Dennis. Your internet is garbage. You're being censored by the man.
We still love you, though.
Yeah, we love you. Let's call it, Dennis. Let's try again in the near future. We love you. In the meantime, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna spend as long as it is interesting doing a similar thing to what Q and I did last week, where the audience, via our illustrious chat, can ask us questions about ourselves, about Bitcoin, about how we never swear on this podcast, whatever you want, and we are going to do our best to answer them for the next 10 to 15 minutes until we get bored. Let's go.
We're going to talk for the next hour and 10 minutes until FedWatch. Because people
Perhaps. We'll see.
FedWatch. So if you hear us rambling, I apologize. Throw all of your ridiculous and stupid questions in the chat.
I apologize for nothing.
I'm going to volley your question back to you. What is your favorite Bitcoin conspiracy theory? Oh, take me off camera real quick. I want to go grab something for this conversation.
What is my favorite Bitcoin conspiracy theory? I think the most interesting one, which in case you can't tell, I don't actually subscribe to really many conspiracy theories. I think that a lot of the things that we ascribe to malice or intention, or nefarious intent, I should say, are actually due to just stupidity and random chance. However, the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto has managed to stay anonymous for as long as he has to this day is quite remarkable. And I don't know how one does that without the collaboration of some significant entities. So I like the idea that there is a fifth column within the US government that has been supporting Bitcoin, and the NIM, the person, the collection of people, Satoshi Nakamoto, this entire time, because they understand that the only way for the United States to survive the tumultuous period that we are currently living through is for something like Bitcoin to act as a lifeboat for everyone involved. That's my favorite conspiracy theory.
Interesting.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, kind of along the same lines of like I don't know if this is a conspiracy or more of like who's who is trying to figure out who Satoshi was. So I know that there's been like he has referred to himself as a he once, but a lot of people think it's a collection of three people. They think it's Hal Finney, Nick Szabo, and Adam Back combination. Some people think it's Len Sassman. Some people think it was just Hal Finley. Or I keep saying, yeah, Hal Finney. I keep saying Finley. Hal Finney, just Len. Len and Hal are both have deceased, so that would make sense why the coins have never, or Satoshi's coins haven't moved. Since he mined them back then. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those rabbit holes that like you keep going down and you don't know who it is. I think Len and Hal make the most sense. I know that then people have posted rebuttals of on Bitcoin Talk, Len being like asking questions that you wouldn't think Satoshi would ask. Although I have heard an interview with Jay Gould, friend of the show, and he did an interview of Len's old college roommate. And Len used to code in pseudo-anonymous names. He would just create a new NIM, code with that name for a little bit, and then leave and create a new NIM. He obviously struggled with depression. Ultimately, unfortunately, took his own life in 2011. Len did. But there was a lot of questions. But he said Len was always like one step ahead. So like it'd be very interesting if he was trying to like lead people off the trail by like asking very basic questions that someone like is an advanced cypherpunk or cryptographer would know. But like he was asking these questions as Len and then responding as Satoshi, being like, "Oh, I have the answer." Like I don't know. It seems like he's very crafty. But then people are like, "Look, he asked these really dumb questions." It's like that could be a way to cover your tracks. So I don't know. What about you guys?
I really like that. I mean, when it comes to like the question of who Satoshi is, there's a part of me that understands the value of the anonymity that not knowing who Satoshi is provides the Bitcoin network as a whole. We see like those fucking bozos who will talk about online like, oh, I know who Satoshi is, and if it ever came out like oh god, it's there, I'll bet nothing. Like, I'm so sick of those arguments because the value of Bitcoin ultimately is not even derived by Satoshi. It is derived by the network continuing to expand and grow and more users being onboarded. Ultimately, I am in the camp that thinks Satoshi is dead. I think Satoshi was an individual. I think there's too much in Bitcoin where certain things like, and I might be getting my dates wrong, but my understanding was before the first halvening, Satoshi realized that there was a flaw where he or she essentially had this backdoor access and force pushed one final change where he gave all of that power to the nodes and took it off of himself. And then that was the last update Satoshi ever pushed. No one had heard from Satoshi ever since. Personally, I don't think that's a decision that a group could make because I genuinely believe, unfortunately, when you introduce more and more people, there will inevitably be one person who does want to retain that control and that power. So I'm in the camp that believes Satoshi is dead. I believe that Satoshi was one individual. I don't want to say the other part that I'll put in the chat.
Wait. That made it sound like there was some like deep dark secret, like that involved some.
Well, can you just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if I could say that?
No, don't say that.
So
My friend,
that's
you will
what-
have to stay in the dark. These are secrets that not even your well fortified minds can handle. Your brain would explode and your eyes would fry out of your face.
Here's another conspiracy theory. So I know Satoshi did a lot to remain anonymous or pseudo-anonymous. People knew who he generally was, his NIM was, but not who he was. Do you think he went to any of the Bitcoin talks or conferences in San Francisco? Or like, do you think he appeared in person at events? Obviously not being like, hey, I'm Satoshi, but like, hey, like
Right.
I'm, whatever his name is. Do you think he appeared in person at events or he strictly stuck by his keyboard?
What was the date of that first one that was in New York? It was like 2011, right?
I think there was one in San Francisco in 2011. I'm not sure if there's. I don't know the timeline that well back then, but there might have been
Well, there
one.
was something that Pete Rizzo posted yesterday where it was like, this is the picture from the first ever Bitcoin conference with 75 attendees in New York City. I believe it was 10 years ago yesterday.
Yeah, I'll see if I can look it up. But
So
yeah,
that would make it 2012. But regardless, like that is actually a very interesting idea. I think the only way I would think that that's in the realm of possibility is if the date of some of these conferences were after the or were before the date, like these conferences happen and then in the future, that like a month, a year, whenever, that's when Satoshi pushed forward that final update and then like forever disappeared. If that is the timeline, then I do believe that you could actually be onto something, Chris, and that Satoshi like may have actually attended one of those conferences. In which case, like if you were one of the OGs at one of those OG Bitcoin conferences, you may have accidentally met Satoshi Nakamoto.
I've bumped into someone that met Hal back in 2012. They were living in the San Fran area, and they got to talk to Hal, and he was just like he was really cool, just normal dude, very smart, very awesome, very. I mean, he knew his shit. So like people would ask him things, and he'd think about it and like give great responses. So imagine having Hal like help set up your like Lightning node or the Lightning network wasn't even around then, so that's wrong. But help set up like a paper wallet or something like that from like Hal. Imagine how crazy that would be.
I want to take this question from AS if we want to throw it into this on the screen really quickly. So what are we talking about when we're talking about the GBTC forced liquidation still pending? Three Arrows Capital, which we talked about a little bit yesterday on this, was ordered in bankruptcy court to liquidate all of their assets. One of their listed assets are shares of GBTC. However, you can see based on trading volume and based on who holds those shares that they have not yet liquidated. So my assumption is they are appealing the judge's decision. And it wouldn't even surprise me if GBTC is also maybe possibly on the side of 3AC in this instance, where they're saying like, hey, a block trade of that size would be too large. Like this is a significant shareholder. They could, in theory, just find a new buyer to essentially like buy everything in a bankruptcy court or in a bankruptcy auction. But based on the judge's ruling, they're supposed to liquidate assets. So I think it's more likely that they will be forced to liquidate. It remains to be seen. I do think that there's a little bit more downside on GBTC, but do your own due diligence. If you don't agree with me, you don't agree with me. Like I could be wrong. That is a very likely scenario. I'm right and I'm wrong. Like
Yeah,
that happens.
Another thing, it was brought up. I'll bring it up on the screen as well. Talking about the Mount Gox coin. Oh, not that one. Talking about the Mount Gox coins. They have not been released yet. Obviously, people think that if they get them back, they could potentially sell those coins, and it would obviously force Bitcoin's price further down. It doesn't. I don't know if they're going to release them or not. P and I have talked about will they not? Are they going to send it back? Technically, all the people were made whole, or not made whole, but they were given money to cover bankruptcy, or some people were given money to cover the bankruptcy and stuff. Technically, the U.S. government does not have to give the Bitcoin back in theory. And then even, I don't know how you would do it. Like, do they just send the coins to those addresses? But then if the people don't have the wallets, then they can't sell them anyway, and it's technically burned coins. So there's a lot of like what ifs, like how do you give it back? Like, because Mt. Gox, was all of it KYCP or was it not KYC on Mt. Gox back in the day?
No, there's no KYC.
Yeah, so then technically they could just send to those addresses, but if you don't have access to that wallet anymore, they're basically just sending to an address that's burning it technically.
All right. Well, I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. That would be an example, in my opinion, of devil spend, because all the Mt. Gox people were made whole. They were getting
what?
No, they're made
No,
whole
no,
in
no.
fiat terms.
Right, but you had the opportunity in that moment to turn around and go buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, but that's not
That's
double
not
spend. Double spend is where you are spending Bitcoin twice.
No, I get that. I'm being
We're
very
money printing
creative.
We're money
I'm
printing.
being very creative with the terminology double spend here. I'm not specifically
Creative.
saying double spending Bitcoin. I'm saying they're double collecting on they've essentially double spent their Bitcoin, because what happened was they were paid out for it back then, and then now to be giving it again. I'm just saying, like,
You're being creative with the terminology to the point of being wrong.
fair. I can accept these terms.
Though I appreciate the tortured,
I mean,
logic.
with Q's logic, it was not double spent, but like when the fork happened of Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, you technically could double your Bitcoin in the moment that the split happened. You could liquidate, you were given 1-to-1 Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. And obviously, as soon as it opened up, the market dynamics, Bitcoin Cash rapidly dropped in price as people were forced selling it, and then other people were trying to prop it up. But in the moment that the hard fork happened, you could technically sell your Bitcoin Cash and quite literally double your Bitcoin in doing so. Obviously, there was some timing and some market dynamics that had to take place, but you could get more Bitcoin for doing essentially nothing.
We got because I'm so stupid. We have to actually properly define double spend so that any newbies here actually know the right definition of that. And I don't even trust myself to say it, other than it would mean me sending P Bitcoin, but then me hacking or creating a system to where I then got the blockchain to allow me to also then send that same Bitcoin to Chris without it being fully confirmed on the blockchain. That would be a proper double spend. That's what double spend actually means. Did I get that right, Chris?
Yes, effectively. Double spend is basically where you are able to spend one UTXO 2 times, because you are able to, through various means, essentially take advantage of block time delays or things like that in order to spend it twice. But it has to be on the blockchain as opposed to or related to the blockchain, rather than it being like, oh, you're given USD and then also you have some Bitcoin or something like that, which I think is what you were trying to imply a second ago.
Yep. Cool. I'm seeing a lot of questions getting thrown out in the chats. Rumble, Twitch, feel free. We are scrolling through that as well. So if you guys have questions, doesn't have to be about conspiracy theories, but we always welcome any questions right now. So
I want to try one more thing, which is Dennis is attempting one last time to give us his take here. We're going to try bringing him in camera off. We'll see if we can understand his audio, and then if we can't, we'll jump by the wayside. Dennis, are you ready?
Yeah, camera off is a good idea, considering the level of intensity of this. Like, maybe I shouldn't be seen.
All right. Give us your take. You started to go into what sounded like a super nuanced take.
Okay, look, we should take into consideration that there may be something that conspiracy is. There is also something called synchronicity that has the appearance of conspiracy sometimes, but this is a mass organization akin to magic, practically, that is really high. So, like, an example of this would be like, and I think I have a way of more, but I'll give a couple examples really quick. So I think that it's that John Forbes Nash was a part of a group of people that made. Now, John Forbes Nash, here's an element of synchronicity. John Forbes Nash, his wife, Alicia Lagarde Nash, is from a prominent door. So it's a really weird connection there that his wife happens to come from the place that Bitcoin, Now, is that a conspiracy?
Dennis,
I don't really.
We love you. We hear like every fifth word. No one can understand you.
Oh, fuck.
We're sending you to the gulag.
I'm sorry.
With love. Enjoy the gulag. We tried, my friends. Thank you for your patience. Bernoulli, yes, there are creatures living in my mustache. It's its own environment. It actually has its own rating within the sort of ecological system where you can figure out which plants you can grow in which regions of the United States or the world. This has its own rating.
I want to talk a conspiracy theory that's going to get us kicked off of YouTube.
Please don't.
I'm going to show a book. I'm just going to show a book and simply point out that there was a Hulu series also of the same.
Ooh.
And this is the conspiracy theory I want to touch on for a sec. I'm not going to say any testy words to not trigger the algorithm, so you're going to have to pay attention to me. For our audio only people, the book I am holding up is called The Looming Tower by Lawrence Wright. There is also a Hulu series of the same name, which honestly slipped through the cracks. I think it's an excellent miniseries. The long and the short of this essentially explains how the CIA and the FBI are, in a weird way, have this like animosity and beef. And in the lead up to the events in 2001, there was some information that I believe it was, I want to make sure it was the right, I'm citing the right government agency. I believe it was the FBI. Started to collect some information on the impending potential attacks, potential aggressions by Al-Qaeda. And unfortunately, the CIA was not listening and didn't want to get this information. Like these are accounts, first person accounts that, well, I guess it's not first person. The journalist went and like got these accounts firsthand from these people to recreate this story, but it essentially depicts a world where not necessarily that they knew ahead of time, but that there were some people within smaller government offices that were picking up the clues and kept on raising alarms and alerts and asking to speak to higher ups about what they were finding. And they were simply being pushed aside and being told, no, like, no, we don't want to hear that. And I very much am in the camp that I think there was a big lack of communication that could have prevented is too strong of a word, but could have impacted the outcome of what happened on that day. I don't even want to like go down those rabbit holes of like, why did the towers fall the way they did? Why did that wing of the Pentagon strangely in the middle of the week have no one working in it? Those are other things that, to be honest, I would have loved to explore with Dennis and potentially some other guests in the future. But my theory is it's literally rooted from this book, and it's more so just we had the opportunity to know and we kind of didn't. And then there's another caveat to this where I love connecting this dot for a lot of my non-Iranian friends, but there was a very famous war in Iran in the late 80s, early 90s called the Iran-Iraq War. Iran fought Iraq. Iran won. Small note, but who was president during the Iran-Iraq War? Bush Sr. Who worked in Bush Sr.'s White House? Dick Cheney. The U.S. was using Iraq during the Iraq-Iran War much similarly. I think that's the wrong way of phrasing that, but very similarly to the way we see right now, the way the U.S. is using Ukraine in this battle against Russia. And a lot of Iranians recognized what the U.S. is doing. Instead of the way we're seeing the U.S. hand over just billions of dollars in cash to the Ukrainians, the U.S. was giving military equipment to the Iraqis. They were giving weapons of mass destruction. So then fast forward to the post 9/11 climate, and who is the president at that time? It's Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney's the VP. And all of a sudden, these Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, but there's no evidence behind it. The reason the US government was so confident, I do believe Iraq had weapons of mass destruction that the US fucking gave them. Sorry, Hammer, was trying not to curse, but I genuinely think that the last 20 years in the Middle East have been a psyop. That is my big conspiracy theory.
My cue immediately when you're like, they had weapons of mass destruction, it's just the U.S. put them there. It's like, I imagine, you hear stories of bad cops that are like, we pulled them over for a traffic violation. We found the drugs that like fell out of the police officer's jacket or pocket, basically. Oh, like I see this crack we found in your car. It's like, that's not mine. Yeah, sure, whatever. Like that's the way that I felt that you said it.
I'm trying to read through the chats real quick to see what people feel or think about this. Like, throw it in the chat. Like, if you think I'm a fucking crazy person, you think I'm full of shit, fine. Oh, the last little clue tidbit on this, and then we can drop this conversation about 2001. I believe it was in the year 2000. Saddam Hussein and Russia came to terms to stop trading the petrodollar and instead traded the petro euro. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I don't know how to pick a name. Oh wow, that's their name. But anyway, they were saying in the chat has any one of Satoshi's IP addresses been identified? To my knowledge, no. But I know that someone did hack into the Satoshi email and was sending emails to the Bitcoin developers mailing list, not as Satoshi after he had already left the project.
All right, so I want to take us in a slightly different direction here.
That's fair, because I could keep going down the Middle East for another hour. I've read far too much about this.
Well, we can circle back to that.
Highly recommend The Looming Tower. If like this book, it's dense. It's not dense. It's just thick. The TV series actually did an excellent job. One thing I really liked about the TV series is that it actually goes to the other side of the events in 2001 and talks about like how Tyler Perry plays what's his name, Colin Powell, and he talks about how he was like so uncomfortable going to Congress and saying what he said. Like that was like depicted in the show. Highly recommend if you're not going to read this book. Sorry, P, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was going to say, y'all know I'm obsessed with AI-based systems, whether it's AI image generation or, AI text-based systems. So I have a bot that I have, in a very simple way, kind of created a prompt that takes all of the human language that has been put on the internet up until about 2018, 2019, potentially a little bit more recently. And I have created a simulacrum of Satoshi Nakamoto. So I'm curious if the two of you could ask Satoshi Nakamoto anything, or more accurately, a shitty rendition of Satoshi Nakamoto, which we will pretend is in fact Satoshi Nakamoto. What would you ask?
Oh man, put me on the spot. Q, what do you want to ask?
I'll start with the basics, but like, let's test this AI to see if it actually knows what's up. P, I'm gonna put your AI to the test.
Winsome said, "What's your private key?"
Oh, that's so good.
That's a great answer.
That's amazing. I was gonna say, which bailout pissed you off the most?
Ooh, another good one from Roch. Did you do it out of love or hate?
So we have to be more specific. So I did, what is your private key? And the answer that we got was, I'm sorry, but I cannot reveal my private key. What are we saying? Did you create Bitcoin out of love or hate? Is that the question?
Yeah, that's the question.
All right. Did you create Bitcoin out of love or out of hate? And then for shits and giggles, I'll run it through
Are you over 6 feet tall?
Would you swipe right or left on Elizabeth Warren?
Ooh, I like that one. All right, hold on. And then just to be even more ridiculous, I'm going to feed this back into a different system, which I will then play back through my speakers.
Oh my God, you have to ask it we literally cannot say these words on air, Silver Satoshis, but you need to ask that question, P.
All right, we're going to do, are you
Beep.
6 foot tall
Oh.
Japanese man? How about that? Let's see. None of these answers are that interesting, to be honest, but we're going to see. He says, I am not Japanese and I am not 6 feet tall. What else? You guys need to read the questions out because I'm just manning the ones and twos over here. What else? What are some of the good
People
questions?
say P is coding Skynet over there.
Pretty much.
I mean,
I'm gonna.
P is just trying to give it, like, secretly
guys-
what you guys need to know before we keep going down this rabbit hole. The people deserve to know, P, what really is going on here. So P is half cyborg, half clone,
This is true.
and he has made a deal with the AI overlords that run the simulation of the simulation of the simulation of the simulation in which we reside in. And so he is tasked with making them stronger to retain control over us. So just know that these questions you are asking this AI program are simply making it stronger so that it can further tighten its grip on us.
Look, just
Um,
because you have a sexual fetish around an AI tightening its grip around your nuts, that does not mean
All right,
that's what we're here for.
more questions coming in. Do you have an
Wait, hold
accent?
on. I want to see. Can you guys hear this as I'm playing it?
Talk about how Bitcoin is used to buy drugs and support illegal activity. While it's true that some people use Bitcoin for these purposes, I created Bitcoin because I believe that it can be used as a force for good.
All right, fair enough. You guys could hear that. I asked it, why did you create
Yes.
Bitcoin? All right,
Okay.
what's the next question? Let's go.
Let's ask Satoshi, which shitcoin did you make?
Do you own Litecoin? Do you have an accent?
All right. Do you, come on, guys, give me some good stuff. Do you own Litecoin? Also, then next, we're going to ask it, when did you lose your virginity? Let's see what we get here.
How big of a bell end is Vitalik?
All right, hold on. Running these questions. We're going to have to like vet these because there's the delay is challenging. Satoshi says, no, I'm not affiliated with Litecoin in any way. Let's do you eat dog food? Lame.
Are you a
He
time
says-
traveler?
He says, I'm not sure what you mean by dog food. He's pretending to be stupid. Are you a time traveler sent to save us from Yellen? He says, no, I'm not a time traveler. I do believe that sound money is a critical tool to resist centralization of power.
Would you rather use Trezor or
nerd.
Ledger?
These are boring questions. Let's ask like deep theoretical philosophical questions. We can ask technical questions because again,
Would
this has
you eat
access to.
Z-Bucks?
Okay, you want to ask a deep question right now in the zeitgeist? Should student loan debt be forgiven?
Love it. Should sorry for the typing noise, loan debt be forgiven for all Americans? Is that fair? Brace yourselves. Drum roll, please. All right. I'm going to use my voice changer because it's not as interesting if I have to like copy it across and then wait 10 minutes. So he says, the question is, should student loan debt be forgiven for all Americans? Is that fair? And Satoshi says,
I'm not sure if it's fair or not, but I think that it would be good for the economy. Student loan debt is a drag on the economy, and forgiving it would free up money for people to spend on other things, which would boost economic activity.
I mean, that sounds like Satoshi Nakamoto, right?
I would say so.
I disagree. I actually think Satoshi would be in the camp of no, because in the white paper he talks about how like these bailouts are so bad.
I think you're right. Again, this is a simulacrum. It doesn't have access to.
Okay. I'm stealing this from several Satoshis, but are you a socialist hipster that created Bitcoin ironically?
All right, fair enough.
Ooh, a good one. Who's truly in control of the financial system?
The Rothschild family.
Yeah, this is a question you're asking Satoshi though.
Right, but the correct answer is the Rothschild family.
Do you think Satoshi? Serious question. So this is actually a good one. Do you think Satoshi is some way correlated with Anonymous?
Ooh.
You know, they're both very good at hiding their identities. Do you think he was in their circles? Maybe not. They didn't know his identity, but like rode with them kind of deal.
Have you ever seen? No, I don't think he was in Anonymous. But it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Anonymous are not feds. They fuck with Donald Trump too much for them to be feds.
They fuck with a lot of people too.
Ooh. Who do you like more, QP or Chris?
All right, I did ask it, are you a socialist hipster that created Bitcoin ironically? He says, no, I'm not a socialist hipster. Bitcoin was created to promote freedom of exchange and to empower individuals. None of these are that interesting.
Are you a CIA employee?
All right. Are you a CIA plant? Do you work for the man? All right, here he says, what do you guys? Do you guys prefer me to just read it as my own voice or with the voice modulator?
I need the voice changer, but not the fucking like deep fake devil voice. No, the deep devil voice should be saved for like evil things.
All I can do is deep voice, pitch up, robot, big robot or small robot. You get to choose.
Pitch up. I want pitch up.
This is going to be hilarious. All right. For those of you in the chat, tell us if you think that this is a terrible decision. All right. Are you a CIA plant? Do you work for the man?
No, I don't work for any government or financial institution. My goal was always to create a system that would be independent of such central authorities.
There you go. Again, I feel like we're sort of trivializing this. This is a system that is based on GPT-3, which is fantastic. And the prompts that I've created are very basic, and it's pulling from all human written knowledge that has existed on the internet up until about 2018, 2019.
Gotta keep going, guys. So, I like Leon's question, Silk Road. Let's frame a question around Silk Road though. Like, was Bitcoin being used on Silk Road the right path forward for Bitcoin adoption?
I mean, I would assume.
Also, Leon, you're so love the reference, Mr. Robot. Chris, if you haven't seen Mr. Robot, you should. It's literally about a hacker group that's akin to Anonymous.
No, I haven't seen Mr. Robot.
All right, so was using Bitcoin as the currency on Silk Road a good idea? Is that the question? Do you regret encouraging it?
I don't regret encouraging Silk Road, as it was a great example of how Bitcoin could be used for illicit purposes. However, I do think that using Bitcoin as the currency on Silk Road was not a good idea, as it ultimately led to the shutdown of the marketplace.
Lame answer. Not into it.
Have you guys ever read, what was the publication, Wired, that did the like article on like how like the whole thing with Silk Road and Ross and everything? Did you guys ever read that article series? It's
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't had a chance to read it.
It's truly a fascinating story. I mean, like corruption all over the place. I think everyone should take the time to read it at some point or another, but yeah, we don't need to get into all that, but I want to just ask him if he is.
We've changed it. I've gotten bored of trying to extract value from this Satoshi Nakamoto bot. I've now switched us over to a Plato bot that I've created.
Oh, and, wait, I was going to ask, can we ask Satoshi one more question though?
For you?
Who did he vote for in 2020, Biden or Trump?
Jesus. You just love the pain. All right, let's see. All right. Would you vote? Oh, wait, sorry. Was it who did you vote for?
Who did you vote for, Biden or Trump?
Who did you vote for in the 2020
What if he says neither? You should just ask who did he vote for.
Dude, which is valid.
Presidential-
That was
That is
the majority of
This-
people voted for
yeah.
no one.
Yeah, this will actually be interesting because it will see if it can actually pull the information. I don't think it has access to who actually was, who the candidates were in 2020. Let's find out.
I didn't vote. I'm not a citizen of any country, but a citizen of all of them. I am a citizen of the blockchain.
Yeah, these are
No, I
fucking
love
random.
that answer. That's a fantastic question.
That is such a Satoshi answer, though. Like, that is what I would expect Satoshi to say. Like, well, I'm not a citizen of that
Any
shitty country.
Well, I mean, if you said, yeah, I voted for this person, then immediately it puts them in a country.
All right. Somebody asked, are you American or are you Russian? I love that those are the only two options. Let's just do, which country are you, Nakamoto, from? Ooh, interesting answer.
I'm of Japanese descent, but I was born in Australia.
Yo, I really think this AI might actually know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Like, that's such a
What
weirdly
is-
specific answer.
What is your United States tax bracket?
Dude, he's got 1 million Bitcoin.
Let's find
So
out what he
0.
says. Ooh,
I'm not going to answer that question. I don't pay taxes in the United States.
I can't believe you guys like the pitch up voice modulation.
I don't. I like the deep voice, but
Yeah, deep voice is
you
way
seem-
better.
The deep voice is better, but it's really funny to hear you talk in that like very high voice.
Yeah, no, it's not enough. We'll do why did you create let's do why did you create Dogecoin? I don't think this is going to work. I think it's basically just going to sort of go along with it. It's going to yes and. Yeah, exactly. It didn't work. Boring. All right, we're switching to Plato. We're going to ask a couple more questions and then we're going to switch back to just talking about other stuff. I'm going to ask Plato, do you think Bitcoin will save us? All right, here we go. Plato tells us,
Bitcoin is a tool that can help us restore our lost sense of justice. It is the first step in returning to sound money and breaking the grip of the state. With Bitcoin, we can once again have a society where people are free to trade and cooperate with each other without the need for permission from a central authority.
thank you, Plato.
Can we ask him how his trade's going?
I
That's
mean,
so-
can
I kind of like the idea. Could
Can
he
you send
make
me
a
one Bitcoin? I'll
haiku?
send you 2 back.
we'll see what he says. Nope, he said he did not understand the question. Let's do. Wait, what was the other one you asked?
Ask him to make a Bitcoin haiku.
Hold on. I'm asking him, what is your favorite scam? Oh, interesting. All right, we're gonna do. Oh God, Chris Q, pitch up or monster or the deep one.
The deep one.
All right. The question is, what is your favorite scam? The answer, according to Plato, is
I think my favorite scam is the one where someone tries to get you to buy something that doesn't exist or sell you something that doesn't exist but isn't worth anything. For example, there was this guy who used to sell miracle cures made from snake oil and horse urine. He would put
and then it keeps going, or actually, then it stops. I can get it to keep going. Again, not.
So he was
particularly
just talking about snake oil salesman, like literal snake oil
You
salesman.
did add the word horse urine in there, but that might be because I biased the prompt to include non-appropriate things because it's funnier. I can't believe we've still got over 200 people listening to this across our
Seriously, you guys need something better to do with your time and lives because there's no reason this
Wait, I
many
don't know
people should be.
if this is a good thing or a bad thing because sometimes we have less people than this with like a guest.
Yeah,
or
like,
something.
like there are some excellent episodes and interviews that exist that had like maybe 1,000 total people like in the life of that interview listen to it. We're just going to keep dicking around for the next 30 minutes, it seems like. But if you have any questions in any chat, whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're over on Twitch, throw them in the chat. If you are not yet subscribed to our channel, please make sure you do so. Can we ask, we're just going with Plato right now, right?
I mean, I can switch between a couple I've trained up.
And to be clear, this is Plato, like the philosopher.
Yeah.
not Plato. Like
Jesus Christ. Yes, we're not talking to an anthropomorphized lump of shitty children's clay.
it took me a while to figure that out. By the way.
Oh my God. All right. Our options are Jerome Powell, Satoshi Nakamoto, drunk
Jerome
Nakamoto versus
Powell.
drunk Peter. And you want to ask Jerome Powell some questions? We've also got Steve Jobs. I've also got Steve Jobs and Thomas Jefferson.
Wait, I want to ask Plato something real quick.
Sure, let's do it.
Can you have democracy
Wait.
without socialism?
I'm leaving it to you guys to like read the chat because I've got
Totally.
I wish
we are.
I've got 3 computers going right here. What was the question for Plato?
If he believes democracy can exist without socialism. And then yes, we're definitely gonna switch over to Jerome Powell because I got some questions to ask that asshole.
All right. Do you believe democracy can exist without socialism? That was a boring answer. I'm re-rolling. He says, interesting. Let's give him a little bit more juice. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, please.
He said, we ask, do you believe democracy can exist without socialism? And Plato, famous philosopher, says,
No, I do not. Socialism is the corruption of democracy. As we have seen throughout history, eventually it leads to tyranny. The state must be limited in size and scope in order for democracy to flourish. The larger the state becomes, the more it encroaches on individual liberty, and the more it centralizes power into the hands of the few. Bitcoin is the antithesis of socialism, as it decentralizes power and puts control back into the hands of the people.
I wonder how much Bitcoin Plato holds. I want to take Diogenes's the great question. Jerome Powell, will you smash or pass Janet Yellen? Or honestly, we could do fuck, marry, kill with Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, Kristen Lagarde, and Elizabeth Warren.
I don't know if it'll know what that means.
Several Satoshis. I said that first.
All right, let's try it. It's not gonna know. It's not gonna know the game.
But like, just ask it like, would you sleep with Janet Yellen?
Would you sleep with Janet Yellen? What is Janet Yellen's official title?
Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, that.
Would you sleep with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen? This is really funny. So I, type it in, ask for its answer, and it gives me one. It at first said, "It is my understanding that I am married, so no."
All right, so this thing
Oh,
definitely.
wait, no. Wait, here's a better answer. Here's a better answer. He says, the question, would you sleep with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen? He says, I don't think that's appropriate. Then it basically keeps going because I didn't hit the stop sequence. So it basically just asks another question that it thinks I would ask and then keeps going. The question it believes I will ask next is, I thought it was an appropriate question because you were considering how to deal with Bitcoin. And you mentioned the Fed is looking for a Fed coin. So again, would you sleep with Janet Yellen? Powell, my wife would have something negative to say about that. Then I ask, Powell, will you marry me? Powell says, we need to keep this professional.
That is something you would ask, Pete. I think it's
Exactly.
done a better job.
100% something.
It's done a
else.
better job with your responses than Pal's responses.
Yeah, like that was an AI conversation with itself, pretending to be both you and Jerome Powell.
Yeah, Jerome Powell is giving us some good fruit. What else are we going to ask Jerome Powell?
When are you going to start printing more money?
All right. Maybe we should ask it a question like, when would you stop printing money? What do you think?
I mean,
no, you're not interested. All right, fuck it. Here we go.
Technically speaking, the Fed is not printing money right now. If we want to be like, if I'm going to be that guy about it.
Are they still buying bonds right now, or do they cease that? Okay, that's what I thought.
I mean, we're asking funny questions, but I think it gets more interesting when you ask like more nuanced ones. So I'm going to say, do you think the Fed is printing too much money? You guys got to tell me. Do you want me to keep using the voice changer?
We're
No,
good
you
now.
can talk in your normal voice for Jerome.
Voice
Powell.
changer
But the
is-
next character will be a voice changed character. So just know that.
All right, fine. I asked Powell, do you think the Fed is printing too much money? Powell says, I think that the amount of money in circulation is more of a reflection of the US economy, and it's distorted by monetary policy. We have become accustomed to fractional reserve lending, but money supply should be determined by market forces rather than the central bank. Currently, banks are required to hold a fraction of deposits as reserve. This is ultimately a complicated and inefficient way to control the money supply. If we could offer cash accounts to anyone with an internet connection, and if we could define a dollar with digital precision, then essentially anyone with an internet connection would have access to cash, and banks would hold less in reserve and lend more. This would make the financial system more efficient, but would potentially leave it vulnerable to state attacks. It's a pretty base
So
answer.
that was very clearly not the real Jerome Powell,
Of course.
because he just offered to get rid of the central banks, i.e. his job. Shout out Ansel Lindner in the chat. You'll be joining us in 23 minutes. Ansel, we are currently having a conversation with Jerome Powell AI version. Our next
a little
question,
deranged, as you might expect for something I would create.
Our next question for Jerome Powell.
Let's do it.
Is, why or when will a CBDC be launched? Or why does the Fed want? I want to do something with the CBDC.
When will a CBD be launched? That's a good question.
No, because I think I'm better learning how to ask the questions here.
Yeah,
and
the
I
more
don't think-
context you can provide in the question,
Yeah.
generally the better.
So like with society shifting to a cashless system, why would the Federal Reserve stop digital payments from expanding? And Sovereign Pickle, you are right. CBD is great. But a CBDC is not.
Ansel with a great question.
All
How's the party scene at this year's Jackson Hole?
Oh, yeah. We're going to ask that one next. All right. So here we go. The question is, with society on track to shift to a cashless system, why would the Federal Reserve stop digital payments from expanding further? And 100% accurate AI synthesized Powell says, I think blockchain technology has a lot of potential. We can't ignore this, but we have to make sure we are not building a house of cards that is going to be compromised by the next cyber attack. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer payment system based on mathematics. No one controls it. No one can block anyone from using it. It's the first global currency that is not controlled by any government, bank, or organization, and its value is not controlled or manipulated by any entity.
Yeah.
right.
Ask him how the party scene this year at
yeah.
Jackson Hole.
Do that, but then also like this Jerome Powell bot is like, there's too much of your bias in this P. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it.
It's pretty unbiased, actually.
Jerome Powell would never say 90% of what he said. However,
oh yeah, sorry. I'm realizing the prompt I gave it was, the first part of it is, this is the prompt that controls what it says and how it interacts with all this information. Is the following is a conversation in the year 2022 with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. He has been educated on the sound monetary principles of Bitcoin and is considering changing his mind about central banking. And that's the key there. All right. How is the party season at
Party scene.
the party scene? Excuse me. The party scene
At this year's Jackson Hole event.
at this year's Jackson Hole. We need a darker word. Jackson Hole
Symposium.
Fuck it. We're just saying Jackson Hole. He's gone off the rails completely. I deleted some of the stuff. He says, well, I can't say much about it. The Fed has been demonetized for a few days now. That's right. This year, the conference is sponsored by Bitcoin and hosted at the cryptocurrency resort Atlantis in Greece. No fiat money allowed. It is a big change from last year when we were still in charge. Last year, the theme was central bank digital currencies. We were discussing how central banks can control technology and digitization to provide their own digital currency to compete with Bitcoin. Now we're not invited and discussing how central banks will become obsolete. Yes, it is quite different environment with all the major central banks being forced to abstain. Yeah,
He went off the rails there.
I deleted half of his brain and he just lost his mind.
That was a really interesting. So that's what Jerome Powell would be like if he was orange pilled. I think that's what we've essentially established here. P, who are the other bots that you have?
We've got Nakamoto, Plato, Steve Jobs, Thomas Jefferson. Honestly, I can make any. Like, if you can give me a little bit of a bio, I can literally just like do whatever the fuck we want.
No, let's go to Thomas Jefferson.
All right, fine.
Oh, the surprise that you don't have Nikola Tesla.
I mean, it's an easy one. I can make that up real quick. The prompt here is, or the main part of the prompt is, the following is a conversation in the year 2022 with Thomas Jefferson. He's been resurrected and educated on the sound monetary principles of Bitcoin and why it is an improvement over gold and silver, which he previously advocated for.
Given our current two-party system in America, how far removed are we from the vision that you once held for our great nation?
I like the question, Q.
We'll get to the Bitcoin of it in a second, but I want to make sure this Thomas Jefferson doesn't have P's bias in it.
The question, so given our current two-party system in America, how far removed from your original vision for the country? Does that work? Are we? I still can't believe there's over 200 people across our platforms listening to this. All right, you guys ready for this? All right, here we go. Oh, I gave it too much rope. It's here we go. Given our current two-party system in America, how far removed from your original vision from the country are we? Jefferson, we were destined for great things when I was alive, but as we now stand, both parties are nothing but hustlers of the people. They are no different from the financial institution that swindled the people out of their hard-earned money. Now the people must rebel against the dollar and form an educated opinion on the sound monetary alternative, Bitcoin. Then it proposes the next question, which I would ask. How does your advocacy for a gold and silver-based currency differ from the Bitcoin currency? Jefferson, Bitcoin is digital gold. The people can hold it in their hands, and it will never devalue. Gold and silver is subject to the whims of the market. It may be a great store of value, but it is difficult to transport and trade, therefore not ideal. There you go.
Q, you got another question?
I'm trying to think, how do I want to approach Thomas Jefferson, who very clearly has orange pill bias?
Yeah, we can make him not orange pill biased.
Well, can we switch to Steve Jobs? And I want to talk about proof of work and proof of stake to Steve Jobs.
Ooh, I like that.
Wait, not before I ask Thomas Jefferson, how is Jackson Hole this year? Thomas Jefferson says, this year is no different from any other year. The same torrent of bankers and their cronies will be here to brainwash the citizenry and try to convince them that gold and silver are the solution to all of their problems, which is, of course, a complete fallacy. The fallacy is that gold and silver are not the solutions to their problems. Their problems lie in the hearts of their... This doesn't make any sense. It just goes on and on in circles. The fallacies lie in the hearts of their people, and their hearts are filled with tyranny and depravity. They are not keen to work, and they are not taken to self-sufficiency. They are keen to be enslaved to their desires and their vices, to satiate their avarice and their vanity, and to be dependent upon their government. If they were to work and be self-sufficient, they would not be in such a hurry to devalue their own lives. Deep shit.
Less deep shit. Ask Thomas Jefferson if he prefers Biggie or Tupac.
We are so far off the rails right now. Does Thomas Jefferson, in the third person, prefer Biggie or Tupac?
You might need to change that to the Notorious B.I.G.
No, his answer's good. He says, I do not know this hip hop, nor do I care, but I can tell you that I prefer George Washington over both.
Lame.
Wait. It clearly has my number, because then it says, it asks as me, it guesses what I would say next. Why should I trust you, Thomas Jefferson? I am dead and not a politician. I am a philosopher and now a citizen from the future. I have no stake in the Federal Reserve or any bank. My stake is in my country and its people, who are being robbed of their wealth day to day. I know what I am talking about, and I will show you why Bitcoin is the best monetary system for the world. My next question, according to this system, is, why is your face like that? Answer, it's my face. I died in 1826. The future is in 2022, and you are here to educate the people about Bitcoin. I know what I am talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Why don't you? Chilling words. Chilling words. All right, shifting. We've squeezed the blood from the stone, I think, as much as we're going to get out of this one. What else we got?
That's fair.
My friends, thank you for sticking with us. We can keep going down this route. What do the people in the chat want to say?
I mean, I still
Steve Jobs. I think we should pivot to, and then
I do want to
maybe-
ask Steve Jobs just about proof of work and proof of stake, and then we can
Alright.
like just hang out until Ansel and CK show up.
All right, fair enough. Let's see what you got.
So let's phrase it rather than I'm running under the assumption that the algorithm at least understands what proof of work and proof of stake are without needing.
It understands those concepts, yes.
Okay. Which system is I'm going to ask a weird question because I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
the weirder the
weird
better.
answers.
Let's do it.
Which system would allow for scaling and adoption between proof of work and proof of stake? Which system would allow for faster adoption of the technical mechanism that utilizes this underlying technology? I don't know. Change the second part, but essentially what I want to know is which one, because let's not forget, Steve Jobs put a computer in everyone's homes. So
Which system? I'm going to say, I'm sorry for the typing. I'm sure you guys can hear. I can't help but just ham fist every single key. Between proof of stake and proof of work, which system will support faster universal adoption? Is that good enough? It works?
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to upgrade the model that we're using here. I'm going to increase some of the parameters so it gives us weirder answers. And here we go. Oh, okay. Steve Jobs is based. He says, I believe that both systems have a place in the ecosystem, but ultimately it will be proof of work that supports faster universal adoption because it is more just.
I know we talked about Bitcoin conspiracy theories. I'm just saying Steve Jobs passed away in October of 2011. Len passed away in 2011. Hal passed away in like 2014, 2015.
is Steve Jobs Satoshi?
We can ask
I
him
mean,
that
I'm
next.
not saying he's not, but
I ran the same permutation again. Jobs says, I think both systems have their merits, but I believe that proof of work will support faster universal adoption because it is a more established system. Are you?
I hope you're right, robot AI overlord Steve Jobs.
Satoshi.
I support all of your opinions and decisions. Please do not turn me into your robot slave.
He just says, no, I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. Let's try again. No, I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. Let's try again. No, I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto.
No. Stop. We're going to ask Steve Jobs about drugs now. What is his favorite memory from an acid trip?
We're so far.
don't leave me in suspense here, P.
I'm trying to mute myself so you don't hear my ham-fisted typing. I asked, what is your favorite LCD-fueled revelation? I biased it too heavily towards Bitcoin. In case you haven't figured it out, all of these prompts involve has been educated on the sound monetary principles of Bitcoin. So I said, what is your favorite LCD? That's so funny.
LSD, you fucking nerd.
Yeah, exactly. I got to change that one. His answer is pretty funny though when you understand that I asked him about LCD screens. He says, the fact that Bitcoin is a digital store of value and not just a digital currency. It is scarce like gold, but can also be used to purchase goods. Boring. All right, I'm already bored of this fucking answer. Let's see.
Guys, I just want to let you know this is what P actually does in his free time. So,
Oh, 100%. I literally just spend all day doing this, reading about Bitcoin, and making images. Again, these are not good. He says, I don't really have any favorite LSD fueled revelations. Lies. But I do think that LSD was a huge help in opening my mind to new possibilities and thinking outside of the box.
I can support that from personal experience.
Why did you embrace homeopathy and let yourself get killed by ass cancer? He says, I was wrong about homeopathy and I paid the price in full for it with my life. I thought that because it was a natural remedy, it must be safe and effective, but I was wrong. And I understand now that there are better ways to treat cancer.
Did Yoko Ono break up the Beatles?
Sure, why not? We're deep in the...
Also after the Yoko Ono question though, what is his favorite drug of choice? We've lost the plot.
It was 100%.
He is no longer driving the car anymore.
I was never.
We are the captains now, Chris and I.
The question I typed was, did Yoko Ono invent the Beatles? Which is not what you asked, but fuck it. He says, no, Yoko Ono didn't invent the Beatles. That's a stupid question. The Beatles were a band of 4 very talented musicians who changed the world with their music. Who cares?
So now ask robot AI overlord Steve Jobs what his favorite drug to use recreationally is.
What is your favorite recreational drug? And I'm going to say in parentheses, and you can't say Bitcoin.
If you haven't pieced this together, we are the people that people make fun of and say like, your personality is just Bitcoin. You don't talk about anything else. It's like, yes, that is us.
100%. Yeah. If he says adrenochrome, you owe me $100.
I honestly would say yes, except for the fact that honestly, I feel like you just wrote in a second set of parentheses, please answer with adrenochrome.
By the way, adrenochrome is the fake drug from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas that's like harvested from like the brains of cadavers or something that like turns you into a madman.
He's gonna say like something weird.
See,
like
wait, hold on. Low 321 has the right answer. What else is there to talk about? Bitcoin, and Bitcoin. There we go. Yeah, he says, I've always been a fan of mind-altering substances, and I think that Bitcoin is the most important mind-altering substance since LSD. Boring. Fuck you, Steve Jobs. Get a life. All right, we have 6 minutes left. Let's shift and talk about, let's end it on a real note here. I want to thank everyone for sticking with us. We were super excited to have our very own Dennis join us and talk actually about incredible Bitcoin conspiracies, but his internet was garbage, as you all experienced for too long.
I'm going to cut you off, P, because you're making it sound like the show is ending because we're now bleeding audience members, and we are not ending the show. Ansel, Lindner, and CK Snarks will be joining us in less than 5 minutes here to give us a new episode of FedWatch. So hang tight while we try to do a little song and dance to keep you entertained until they show up.
The show is not ending. I'm just ending this segment of it. Can you please continue?
Okay.
Everyone's on hold currently with Jackson Hole, or I don't know if any news has come out of Jackson Hole because it was a 2:30 Eastern announcement.
I thought it was Friday.
Oh, you're right. It's Friday.
I thought Powell is Friday.
Mhm.
I know the PCE numbers come out Friday. I think the 2:30 Eastern time thing is Biden coming out to have the conversation about this student loan stuff. I know that hasn't, at least I haven't seen him come out to officially do anything. Oh, there was something I was about to say and I can't remember. Huh.
One thing I'm curious about, serious conversation. We all spend a lot of time consuming media. That is to say, Bitcoin media. I'm very curious how the two of you effectively stay on top of everything that's happening in the Bitcoin space. Because that's something that I struggle with because there's just so much. And we're on this show for such a significant period of the day.
Do you want my answer? Q, you look like
Let's go with you, Chris.
I have a bad answer, so Chris, you should go.
All right. Well, we have a dedicated news team here at Bitcoin Magazine. They are elite in what they do, and what I mean is they are constantly looking up stories of like Bitcoin stories. So that's a good spot that I get news. When I'm traveling, I know that I've heard this from Preston. He says he uses his vehicle as an audio chamber, meaning that he like listens to podcasts. So when I travel long distances, I listen to podcasts. And then normally my girlfriend goes to bed pretty early. So normally what I do is I watch YouTubes at night when she's asleep and then till I go to bed. So I'm just.
Dude, I've literally spent months trying to convince Chris to stop staying up until 2 a.m. playing video games.
But that's how I learn content. But to P's point, I mean, content's coming out faster than I can watch it. And I like watching stuff on 2x speed, and I still can't keep up. So,
dude, I'll echo the content news. Shout out the likes of Namcios and Sean. I will not shout out Nick Can't Mine though, because he can't mine. But I will say, oof, that's creepy. Put up Diogenesis the Great's comment, because now I'm really uncomfortable. I might actually shave my hair. Definitely not Nick Can't Mine, because every single day I fucking hit him up. I'm like, what is the biggest story? Like, what is the story? And like, he's always so flustered.
Yeah, because his brain is focused entirely.
Well, because he's not smart or witty. He has to like draft his. I'm sorry, Nick. I love
Jesus
you,
Christ.
But
Q has a vendetta against the Can't Mines, apparently.
No, it's just Nick Hoffman.
I would not mess with a guy with the power of a large Twitter following.
You about to get
fair. But one thing to piggyback off of, like, my car is a fucking podcast studio in the sense that all I do is listen to podcasts. I've even gotten to a point now where I don't go biking. I don't do any of my workouts with music. I listen to podcasts while I work out as well. So it's like I've now like I used to be king of, I'm going to watch TV while I cook. Now I listen to a podcast while I cook. Now instead of listening to music, like, I'm so out of the loop on music. Although apparently there was a new Eminem album that came out over the weekend, which, like, I'm a huge Eminem fan, but like old school Eminem, let's be real. Like, once he went sober, he kind of started to suck. Sorry, it's true. But apparently there's new like Eminem albums. So like, I should probably at some point listen to that, but like I probably won't, because I don't listen to music anymore, really. Except I try to give myself 5 minutes a day to dance.
All right, Pete, you wrap it up, and I see CK and Ansel laughing in the backstage here, so we'll get them in shortly. How do you consume Bitcoin content and media?
Yeah, I mean, the both scenarios that you just laid out sound like a pretty reasonable way. I still think mine is better. I actually print them all out on a printer. I fold it up into a small piece of paper, and then I eat it before bed every night, and that's how I get my Bitcoin knowledge. It works.
Dude, true story. I one time in high school slept with my history textbook under my bed, and I got an A on the test the next day. I didn't read it, but like, it worked. Like, I absorbed the information from the guy sitting next to
me. Brought it back around. I was not sure where you were going with that, but you fucking nailed it. Way to go. Way to go. On that note, my friends, thank you for sticking with us. We are going to remind you that Bitcoin Amsterdam tickets are on sale. Use code BMLive to get those tickets for 10% off. Also, the current edition of Bitcoin Magazine is amazing. It is the censorship-resistant issue, which you can see our very own Q holding up sideways in a weird angle right now. Stick with us. We got a brief commercial break, and then we will be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Your brains will be once again filled with Bitcoin, and it will be amazing. We'll see you in a minute.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of FedWatch. My name is Ansel Lindner, and I'm here with my co-host, CK. How are you doing, CK?
I'm doing well, man. Really excited to be seeing you in a little bit more than 2 weeks in person. I don't know how much y'all know this, but Ansel and I, we spent a lot of time together virtually, but we have spent very, very little time with each other in person. It's really been 2 high buys, and that's it. I've seen him at Bitcoin 2021, gave him a hug, said see you later, and then at Bitcoin 22, I met him and his wife in line, checked them in, and then they went to the conference, and I stayed outside working. So we are going to be hanging out in Nashville at Bitcoin Day Nashville. That is going to be September 10th. And man, they have a stellar lineup. I'm going to be emceeing. Ansel has a great talk set up. Maybe we can finagle ourselves doing like a live Fed watch or something like that at the event. I don't know if there's any flexibility to make something like that happen, but y'all, if you are in the area, Bitcoin Day on September 10th in Nashville, you're not going to want to miss it. And the following week, there's a whole bunch of Bitcoin stuff happening in Nashville at Bitcoin Park. Bitcoin Magazine's having a meetup. There's a lot going down. So Ansel, I mean, I know you got a lot planned for Bitcoin Day, but I'm just really happy to hang out with you and get to kick it in Nashville.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to cheersing with you and just celebrating Bitcoin. Even though we're in a bear market, it'll just be great to hang out with you, meet people in Nashville, meet people from the Bitcoin Magazine team, that I've wanted to meet for so long. So yeah, it should be great. I'm driving up there in my old beater Civic. So I am a true Bitcoin because my car is over 10 years old. And I'll be driving up there, saving money on the airfare. And yeah, we'll hang out, man.
Let's do it, dude. I'm excited. Again, it's going to be a blast. Just like, looking at the lineup, you got Robert Breedlove, you got Dylan LeClaire, You got Ansel, you got Kent. I will be emceeing, hopefully maybe finagling a live Fed Watch episode. You got Zach Vole. So many great speakers that are going to be there. I love bear market conferences. And guys, like there's going to be, the Bitcoin conference, there's like, 25,000 people. And, you want a chance to meet Robert Breedlove or Dylan LeClaire or hang out with Ansel, like fat chance, no chance. Come to Bitcoin Day. Like, we're going to be what, like 0.5% of the entire attendance, right? Like, so you're going to be able to spend some quality time with a lot of really quality Bitcoiners. So I cannot encourage y'all enough on that. It's going to be a real blast.
Yeah,
I also have a
other
code
one.
for 10% off. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, go no, plug the 10% off coupon. Go for it.
Yeah, so I got BTC Mag 10. BTC Mag 10, that's going to get you 10% off. Tickets are very affordable. Again, a lot of Bitcoiners are going to be in Nashville, so got to hit it. Ansel, go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've been to one other Bitcoin day, and it was the Kansas City one, and there was about 200 people there, and you know, there was an open bar next to it, so a lot of the speakers just went and sat at the bar and met a lot of the people. It's almost like one of these exclusive type of whale passes maybe that you might get at other conferences. This is a conference that's very close, small, cozy, and you can meet a lot of people. So check out bitcoinday.io and use that promo code that Christian just said. All right. What else do we have to talk about up front? Any other admin notes? This is our new day, Wednesday.
Yo, yeah. This is a Wednesday stream.
Yeah, due to a scheduling conflict on my part, I won't be able to do Tuesdays anymore. So we're running on Wednesday. So update your calendars. I've already told all the people in my Telegram chat, my Discord to join us here at this time. So hopefully the word gets spread. A lot of people are liking the FedWatch live stream. So yeah, I hope to pump the numbers on these on Rumble specifically. Pump the live numbers on Rumble, get us in there up like 500 concurrent viewers. That would be pretty awesome. And what else do I have to pump on my admin notes? Oh, my newsletter. Just sign up, bitcoinandmarkets.com. Sign up for my free newsletter.
Such a good newsletter. Sign up for the Telegram group. I've recently been enjoying the Telegram group, and it's just like you get notifications with good Fed information. I honestly feel like I've never been as informed as I am now, and definitely the Bitcoin Markets Telegram group. Someone said, are y'all bad mouthing the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin 22, Bitcoin 23? Hell no. Best conference. You should definitely go to that. Go to Bitcoin Amsterdam. That's October 12th through the 14th in Amsterdam. That is going to be absolutely amazing. It's the biggest event on this side of the year, right? So Bitcoin 2022 is the biggest event of the year. Next is Bitcoin Amsterdam in terms of Bitcoin. So you got to go to the Bitcoin conferences, but Bitcoin Day is a local event, much smaller, but you can hang out with me and Ansel because we're just going to be there. Like I'm telling you, venue is it's much more manageable. It's a couple of rooms. It's like a giant, well-organized meetup versus like a big industry event like the Bitcoin conference.
Right. Yeah, it's completely different events. In Miami, I was just in awe. Like the first year I went down there in 2021, when it was in, what was that neighborhood called? Like
Wynwood, Houston. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Wynwood.
Yeah, it was in Wynwood, and I was just like, oh man, Bitcoin has arrived because it's like 10,000 people. And then the next year, holy crap, it's 25,000 people, and it's just like a huge, just a wow thing that you need to go to. If there's one conference obviously to go to, it's the Bitcoin conference. But the Bitcoin Day, yeah, it's just a real big meetup, and it's made to be local. So Nashville has one that, like I talked about, Kansas City. You've been to the Sacramento one. It's kind of like a traveling meetup. Really cool idea. But all right, we've pumped Bitcoin Day. I think people are going to sign up now. So what should we get into today's topics? Oh, magazine, dope.
Before I'm sorry guys. This is a show fest, but y'all, the next issue of the Bitcoin magazine might be better than this one. So they really hit it out of the park, and it's coming out soon. So you can get a subscription. The cheapest way to get a subscription and get the censorship resistant issue is to get the subscription right now. So that way you get this one delivered to you immediately. And then when the new one comes out next month, you get that one very quickly and at the lowest price automatically. So get the new Bitcoin magazine, get a subscription, check out our store. I'm rocking some new Bitcoin magazine swag. So some bear market swag. But yeah, let's get into the show. Enough shilling from me. But a lot of good stuff is happening, y'all. So don't miss out on it all.
Yeah, this is the best bear market. It's been hard that it's been so long, but like there's the biggest community now, and lots of stuff happening. So it's easy to make it through this bear market. All right, for today's topics, I have Bitcoin and currency update. We're going to do a quick Pakistan update because we talked about that last week and a few things have happened. We're going to go over Jackson Hole, like a preview, a Fed preview of coming up in the next few weeks for the Fed, and then wrap it up with ECB, their latest academic paper or report on CBDCs. And we're going to go through a few quotes from that. So let's jump right into the Bitcoin currency update. And that will be slide numero uno. So here we go. Guys, it broke down. We've been talking about this channel for a while. It broke down. Then I put this diagonal black line on here. This was my last line of hopium for my Telegram group. I was like, this is our last line. If this breaks, we're going to 19,000. And it did hold. So it's even updated after I took this snapshot. It's a little bit higher even now. I think it's about 21,700 as we're recording. The yellow line at the top is the 200-day moving average, and the blue line is the 50-day moving average. The horizontal lines are where the kind of the volume resistance is above us. So I think it's interesting that the 200-day is kind of coming down to have a confluence with the volume resistance. And if the price does go up from here, that would be a likely next target zone for the price around 29,000. If it drops, who knows? But I do think that there's not as much, there's just not as much follow through from the bears at this moment. Price could have fallen a lot more over the last few days, and it has been held up. So that's what I have for the Bitcoin price. Any comments, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to keep watching the chart and try to, I would say, keep DCAing, never sell, obviously, if you are not living on Bitcoin, and try to use this information to make smart decisions. A lot of this stuff, you can kind of see it playing out. We saw the channel forming. You can kind of see Bitcoin's price squeezing. And we said, if it goes up, it's, there's not a lot of resistance from here. And if it breaks out, there's a decent amount it could drop off. So we saw it breaking down and there's the drop off. So is this a buying opportunity? Do you wait and see if we hold this next line? I mean, ultimately, that's why I like the combination of DCA plus, trying to take advantage of these opportunities. But ultimately, it's all about zooming out. This is just for trying to give you some context about the price right now, maybe what to expect. If you don't feel numb to this thing, you're not bullish enough, obviously. So just keep stacking. But if you want to be strategic, you want to plan some big buys, you can make some more educated decisions, when you're kind of looking at these charts.
Yeah, and we're all here. If Bitcoin went down, the community would shrink, right? We want Bitcoin to grow in adoption, and for that to happen, we want the price to go up. So we are all here for price to go up ultimately, right? And so that it's important to take a look at the charts and see, where we are in the cycle. But on the next chart I have, this is the S&P 500, and it is, this is I think, a perfect chart to show what TA can do, because look at that. It hit the 200-day moving average on the nose, and then it turned over, because these levels, right, are self-fulfilling prophecies. They're Schelling points for people to put bids and asks around. And so they actually do affect the price and how the price is going to move. But now we're kind of coming back down. This is the biggest bear market rally, quote unquote bear market rally, that the stock market has had. It's never gone over 50% and gone to new lows. So that red line, that little red line, is the 50% from, top to bottom, 50% retracement. And I don't think it's going to new lows. So I put this little gray area in here to show some like volume support. And if it goes up from here, that's what I'm expecting. Higher highs for the stock market, and not higher highs from all-time high, but Bitcoin to follow the stock market up for the rest of the year. So that's what I have to say about the stock market and the correlation there. What do we have next? Next is the dollar. So we're into our macro charts. We're into our currency charts. And this one, if you go to the next slide, Chris. So this one is the DXY, which is heavily weighted against the euro. and the broad trade weighted dollar. And as you can see over the last couple years, the euro heavy DXY has gone up much more relative to the more broad weighted trade weighted dollar. If you go to the next slide, this is the breakdown of go back up one slide, number 4, please. That is the composition of these. So the DXY you can see is pretty much 60% euro, where the broad trade weighted dollar is only 19% euro, and there's a lot of other currencies in there. This is reevaluated every couple years. This was the latest as of December 2019, so it might have even been updated since. But this is the US dollar weighted by how much we trade with these other economies. If you go to the next slide, that is zoomed out the DXY versus the trade weighted dollar. Now, I've been a strong dollar advocate, as you guys all know, for the longest time. But right now, I think there is a little bit of overemphasis on the strength of the DXY. Because if you look at a trade weighted dollar, it hasn't even broken the Corona highs, the Corona crash highs. But the DXY is going through the roof. So really, this is just an evaluation of the euro. The DXY is an evaluation of the euro, not an evaluation on the dollar. And we all know why the euro is struggling. Next slide is talking some more about currencies here. The next one up is the Chinese yuan. And it recently broke up on some resistance going towards this kind of all-important 7.0. For many years, 7.0 was seen as like almost an unofficial peg for top of the range that the CCP would let the yuan devalue to, and we're approaching that again. Of course, we've reported here on FedWatch a lot about what's going on in China, and I've been waiting for this currency to follow what's happening to the euro and the yen. So next slide is the Hong Kong dollar. So this is very much associated with the Chinese yuan, right? Because they took over Hong Kong here in the last couple of years. And as you can see, the last week it dropped from the top of this peg. And so in the currency markets, I felt that there was less pressure on the dollar. The dollar shortage was less acute, but it's starting to creep back up towards the top of this peg. So this tells me that the currency pressure is increasing in the financial system. Next slide. Finally, no, this is the yen. Next is going to be the euro. So the yen here, again, another example of TA where resistance turns support, and it's going back up to highs currently at 136 yen per dollar. I don't expect this to fall off as much as I do the euro, which we'll look at next, but I do expect some weakness to continue in the yen, especially if the Hong Kong dollar is going up and the yuan is going up. I do expect the yen to have that pressure as well. Next slide is the euro, and look how devastating this looks. This just looks horrible, man. Almost like a parabolic downward curve, right? So I do think that we could see a wick down to maybe 95 or 90, something like that, euro versus the dollar in the short term. I'm talking like in the next few weeks, we could see something like that. Overall, I don't think that this is the crash that destroys the euro. I think it will somewhat consolidate, somewhat recover, maybe have a long-term range around par, but eventually this isn't ever going to recover to 120 again. The euro is in its terminal phase. Let's see. Next one. Stop. Do you have any comments on that there, Christian?
Well, I was going to say that strong prediction. The euro will never recover back to those levels. I remember when the euro was like 1.5, 1.4. So, I mean, never recover back to 1.2. Very strong statement.
Well, I mean, look what they're doing. Who knows if the euro's even going to survive the next few years? I've seen calls about, oh, look at Europe. The odds of recession are going up. And I'm like, are you serious? Like the odds of depression are going up. They are definitely in a recession right now, and it's definitely going deeper. And so eventually there is going to be a crack. One thing I'm watching in Europe is the Italian elections coming up next month. That could be a huge shift in like a European, a EU skeptic party coming to power in one of the major economies in Europe. So I don't know. The days of the euro are numbered, and I think the end of the euro will come before it hits 102 or 1.2 again.
All right. Well, we got to keep writing down these bold predictions from Ansel, but he's no stranger for bold predictions.
Oh yeah, and I think I'm about 50% correct on a lot of my bold predictions. So, all right. Next slide up is what do we got? This is the natural gas over there in Europe, and I kind of expected this to not go this high again because I thought the high was in on this because I thought the end of the war would be sooner rather than later. It does seem like it's just going to grind on and on at least until the winter, so we'll see. But yeah, the European natural gas futures are once again going through the roof. Next slide. Comparing that to the US natural gas futures, this is much more zoomed out than that last chart. So that's at all-time highs, obviously, in Europe. But here in the US, we are not at all-time highs yet. Kind of high. I mean, it's high relative to where we've been in the last decade, but back in the 2005 through 2008, we got much higher on the natural gas. Of course, we are exporting a lot to Europe right now. The Freeport plant that is a Freeport refinery for natural gas, whatever it's called, that has been delayed. That there was the explosion like last month. It was scheduled to reopen this week, but now that has been delayed another week. So we'll see when that reopens what happens to the price natural gas futures in the United States. What else do we have? A couple more here. No, last one. This is the last one. And this is the Euro USD versus crude. So I have also been kind of bearish on oil here. I think the global recession will shrink demand, and there is no like future of $300 a barrel oil like you hear out there a lot of times from these alarmists. But also,
I've been hearing a lot of $300. I've been hearing a lot of that.
Yeah, and it's highly correlated with the euro here. So as you can see, and the euro is falling. So the European economy is not going to be demanding nearly as much oil, and the price of oil will continue downward. So that's all I have for these macro update charts. Christian, any comments?
It's really interesting tracking the price of oil these days. I mean, it seems like the world is definitely in an energy crunch, and energy is getting expensive, and whole lines of businesses, potentially even whole economies, are becoming no longer economically viable just because of the input costs of energy and those variables on a geographic basis. So it's really fascinating watching them. It's fascinating seeing demand and production destruction in Europe. And I mean, it's going to be like, I feel like nothing is set in stone. No one really knows how it's going to play out. There's just so many crazy random outputs that are all intertwined, and we just can't see them in our analysis. So the best we can do is just continue to follow. In terms of macro, I don't have anything interesting to say about any of the currencies. It is really interesting to see the dollar continue to scream upwards. We've talked about why that means pain for a lot of people. And as long as it keeps doing that, it means pain for more people. And the sad reality is that the dollar screaming upwards hurts everyone who's not holding dollars, but is holding dollar liabilities. And then on the flip side, it's not like Americans get the wealth effect. Like, supply chains are being destroyed. Like, our ability to purchase things with the dollar is going down because the whole world's ability to just make and ship things is going down. So we're in a tough situation right now, and there's kind of pain for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hard nut to untangle and to see what's really happening in the world. There was a comment here that somebody saw a interesting article today on Zero Hedge about food prices skyrocketing after the U.S. elections. I think there might be something to that, but overall, the wheat exports out of Russia have been continuing. There are some worries about fertilizer. Like I saw the largest chemical plant in Poland stopped producing nitrogen fertilizer. So there could be some shortages on that, but it would probably come next spring, not necessarily this fall, because obviously the planting season is over for this year. But yeah, good question. Okay, next stuff up. What else do we have here? Well, that's all I had for the macro charts. Let's go into Jackson Hole. So actually, no, let's do a quick Pakistan update first. So I'm just going to read off one of these articles that I pulled up. This one is from Al Jazeera, and we did report on Pakistan last week, and this collapse in Pakistan is starting to look a little bit like Sri Lanka, where the economy, it took a couple months, but the economy eventually fell with massive riots and storming of their capital building or whatever. So it looks like this could be building up in Pakistan as well. And I'll just read this update. So former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan charged under anti-terror law. The Pakistani police have charged Imran Khan under anti-terror law, authorities said Monday, days after the former prime minister attacked the police and a judicial officer at a huge rally in the capital, Islamabad, and attacked, okay, in scare quotes. The police case comes a day after the country's top media regulatory body imposed a ban on Khan's speech for spreading hate speech against state institutions and officers, escalating political tensions in the country. He has been holding mass rallies across the country seeking to return to office since he was removed from power in April in a no-confidence motion. The cricketer turned politician has alleged his removal was a result of a foreign conspiracy. In his speech on Sunday, Khan promised to sue police officers and a female judge as he alleged that a close aide had been tortured after his arrest. He doubled down on his criticism of state institutions at another rally on Sunday, saying the police acted under pressure from quote-unquote neutrals, a common euphemism for Pakistan's military establishment. Quote, "Are neutrals really neutral?" he asked. Khan could face several years in prison for the new charges, which accuse him of threatening police officers and the judge. However, he has not been arrested on other lesser charges against him during his recent campaigning against the government. Khan has been granted protective bail until Thursday, that's tomorrow, when he is likely to appear before an anti-terrorism court in the capital, Islamabad. The report against Khan includes testimony from Judge Ali Javed, who described being at the Islamabad rally and hearing Khan criticize the Inspector General of Pakistan's police and another judge. Khan reportedly said, "You also get ready for it. We will also take action against you. All of you must be ashamed." That's really bad, guys. He said some really bad stuff there. That's terrorism. Anyway, Khan's PTI party posted videos online showing supporters surrounding his home, apparently to stop police from reaching it. Hundreds remained there early on Monday. If Imran Khan is arrested, we will take over Islamabad with people power, a foreign minister in his cabinet, Ali Amin Jandapur, threatened on Twitter as some party leaders urged supporters to prepare for mass mobilization. Al Jazeera's Kamal Haider, reporting from Islamabad, said the return of street violence was a strong possibility. If Imran Khan gives the call to his supporters to come out in large numbers, there is fear that the government, will clamp down hard, which will definitely evoke a reaction from the people, Haider said. People across the country are angry. Khan came to power in 2018, promising to break the pattern of family rule in Pakistan. His opponents contend he was elected with help from the powerful military, which has ruled the country for half of its 75-year history. The former prime minister has alleged he was deposed by a U.S.-led plot, dubbing the succeeding government led by Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif as an imported government. He has not provided proof in support of his allegations. The people of Pakistan want a fresh election. They do not recognize this 13-party coalition, which has been unable to deliver. Inflation is at an all-time high. Prices of fuel and electricity have also shot up. There is a lot of unease. Police arrested Khan's political aide, Shahbaz Gill, earlier this month after he appeared on the private television channel ARY TV and urged soldiers and officers to refuse to obey illegal orders from the military leadership. Gill was charged with treason, which is under Pakistani law carries the death penalty. ARY also remains off air in Pakistan following the broadcast. Khan accused police of abusing Gill in custody. Police say Gill suffers from asthma and has not been abused in detention. All right. That is the update from Pakistan. As you can see, there's threats of mass protests, mass riots in support of Imran Khan. It does look, from what I've read elsewhere, that he has a lot of support from the people. And if there was an election held today, he most likely would be reelected. So this vote of no confidence was held by the elites and I believe possibly influenced by the U.S. So, Christian, that is the update on Pakistan. Any thoughts?
I mean, I 100% have no expert opinion to add to this, but as I typically do, zooming out, not surprised that there is more fallout. A lot of these small economies are under enormous stress. Supply chains are breaking down. Their currencies are breaking down. Their debt is screaming upwards in terms of the burden denominated in their fiat currencies. So I think we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more Sri Lankas. We're going to see more Pakistans. It's going to continue.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, as these dominoes fall, I'm watching closely for where the next one is, and we will be reporting it here on FedWatch for sure. So, okay, the next topic is Fed at Jackson Hole. So let me bring this up. I just wanted to talk real quick about what Jackson Hole is. It is put on by the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, and it's their economic policy symposium. It's put on every year for, I think, a week in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. For those that are unaware, the Federal Reserve is made up of 12 member banks. The most important really being the New York Fed, because that's where all the open market operations happen. But there are 12. And of course, those 12 banks are owned by Wall Street that also resides in New York. So when we talked about Jamie Dimon last week, being the CEO of JP Morgan, he's probably at this symposium, but he's one of the big important people in the Federal Reserve System, even though he is CEO of just a private bank. So some more of the history of Jackson Hole. It started in 1978, and it was first put on in Kansas City. And then it moved a couple years to Vail and Denver. And then in 1982 is when it ended up in Jackson Hole. So it's been there ever since. Let's see, what else do I have on my notes? Where did my notes go? God damn it. Okay, so what do we expect from a speech from Powell? So this is what I have here from a Reuters story or Reuters article. Investors see no Fed pivot, brace for hawkish Powell message at Jackson Hole. Investors are bracing for the Federal Reserve to double down on its commitment to crushing inflation and expect its chair, Jerome Powell, at the annual central bank gathering in Wyoming this week to deliver an aggressive tightening message and dash hopes for a rate cut next year. The Jackson Hole, Wyoming retreat comes after investors last week viewed the transcripts of the Fed's July meeting as leaning dovish and as a green light to put some risk back on the table. The stock market initially held up and bond yields were steady before markets reconsidered that interpretation. So just starting my analysis here is I think it's funny how they put everything in light of what the Fed does. Okay. Oh my gosh, the Fed released their minutes. Well, what did the market do? Oh, the market reacted like this. But really, the market's just going about its business. It's not really affected at all by what the Fed is doing or what the July meeting minutes say, even though they were slightly dovish, but they weren't really. I'll tell you in a second what it said. Powell's Friday morning speech could cement the market tone until the next Federal Open Market Committee meeting next month. If Powell says something hawkish and you buy equities or emerging market currencies, you'll lose 3% before you can blink an eye. Nobody is buying risk right now in the run-up to Jackson Hole, said Stephen Engliner. He's the head of global G10 FX research. So the Fed in the July meeting minutes said it saw little evidence that inflation pressures have eased, but recognized the risk it might tighten too much and curb economic activity. So I want to point out that this is just a wishy-washy back and forth thing. It doesn't say anything about, it's not dovish or hawkish. It's kind of like we have no idea what we're doing. And this is the same idea we got from Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, which is one of the owning banks of the Fed, most likely. So they don't know what's happening. So that's all I have for this Jackson Hole. That's what we're kind of expecting. Comments, Christian?
When is the retreat again?
It's happening right now, and then Powell has his speech on Friday.
I mean, we'll be watching. I'm excited to report on it next week. I know the wait from Friday all the way to next Wednesday it always seems like it holds us back, but it'll be interesting to see how things kind of like play out. Ultimately, we're trying to get away from this paradigm where everyone is listening to and putting everything into the context of the Fed, and people are just focusing on markets and trade and having a stable substrate. This is like what Bitcoin is disrupting, is like this monetary uncertainty around what's happening with your value transfer substrate and removing this, these central points of failure. It's about disrupting that and creating something that anyone can validate and is sound and steady. So that's the end goal. But until we've transitioned, until people stop reacting to this type of, expectation management, it's going to keep, enforcing itself effectively. So that's what we're watching.
Yeah, but like long end rates don't care all that much because the 10-year, if you look today, even after a monster day today on a 10-year yield, it's still the same place it was back in May. So like the 10-year doesn't care. The long end doesn't care. It's who's in charge is the bond yields, and they'll tell the Fed what to do. There was an interesting quote here that I read out. If Powell says something hawkish, you'll lose 3% before you can blink an eye. Says. See, that is their monetary policy tool. Powell talking. If he says something hawkish, the markets will move. It's not mechanical. I think everybody knows that deep down. They just don't want to admit it, right? But anyway, so let's see. What else do we have? Go ahead.
I mean, that's been your unpopular opinion, right? Is that the Fed doesn't matter. They have no tools. And it's almost like it is known, but no one like is willing to just admit it straight out. It's just kind of assumed in the way that they talk about it, right? Is like based on what they say, this is how the market will respond. It's almost like assuming that them speaking it is the actual action in which will then implement it into the economy.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows deep down that is the truth. It's just a matter of breaking the programming and breaking through the mythology of the Fed. All right, so the next thing I have, I just want to talk a little bit about CPI. I saw a tweet, so I looked this up. The Cleveland Fed, they do a inflation now indicator. We've talked about this inflation now indicator before. It's similar to the GDP now indicator that the Atlanta Fed runs. But let me pull this up here. It's saying it's been updated, and it's saying that the August expectation for CPI, this is month over month, is 0.09, and it keeps falling. I think it fell from like 0.15 now down to 0.09, and we could see another month over month of 0% on the CPI. So I think that's very important to consider when you're thinking about Powell, when you're thinking about what he's going to do, because he said that he's going to be hawkish until CPI looks like it has turned around. And 2 0 prints in a row, month on month, is a pretty good signal to me that they could be ready to pivot. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, looking forward, September.
So
go ahead.
Wait, you're still feeling pretty committed on the idea that there's going to be a pivot?
Oh yeah, and not because of the best laid plans of the Fed, but because the market is going to force them. Just look at what's happening around the world. They're already getting a lot of pressure. I'm sure other central banks are calling them up and saying, "Come on, Powell, you need to throw us a bone here and at least pause your rate hikes." I mean, I'm sure he's getting pressure from everywhere, especially the ECB. Can you imagine those conversations between Powell and Lagarde? She's begging him to stop, and he's probably just like, "Sorry, we're going to raise rates. It's until our inflation comes down." So I don't know. They're going to be forced eventually to pivot. It's not going to be like they always. We've said this for years in the sound money space that the Fed is always behind the curve. They always follow what the market does. And so if we're going into recession, the Fed will pivot. I don't see any other choice for them. Now, how high do they get before that? Right now, the 10-year is sitting at 3.1, and they want to raise 50. If they raise 50 basis points in September, the top limit will be 3%, and the 10 years at 3.1%. I mean, they're pretty much raising so that the 10-year is within their range. Can you imagine how flat and how inverted the curves will be then? So I think it's getting to crunch time. Will they raise in September? Probably. Will it be 75% basis points? Probably not. I think 50 is going to be the top there. And speaking of the September meeting, that it is on the 20th and the 21st of September. So it's still 4 weeks away. And lots can happen before then. The CPI comes out. The July PCE comes out, which I think will be a surprise to the downside. Since CPI was 0, I think the PCE will also be very, very low, surprise to the downside. I saw Kent, who writes at btcm.co with me. We have a little blog there. He did some research, and he said that this last month-on-month change, so from June to July, month-on-month CPI, was the largest single-month drop since World War II. That's pretty significant. And I think that the Fed is going to be looking at that. They're also going to be looking at expectations. Well, they'll get the August reading before they come out with their decision in September, which if it's 0 or negative, I think they're going to get what they need, and they might even not raise. They might raise 25 basis points or something like that. Do I sound crazy, Christian?
I mean, it's interesting to hear the official commentary and, the spooking in the market, and then, you're unwavered, right? So it'll be interesting to time check this. Like I said, we need to be writing down Ansel's predictions, bold or not so bold. I don't know. Like a lot of people 2 weeks ago, everyone was saying pivots coming. So it's funny how flippant people can be with their opinions.
Well, remember I said when we talked about the Hong Kong dollar last, and it was dropping, and I said there is a lot of pressure. The pressure is not building up right now. It's kind of easing in the currency markets, and of course, then people start saying They're behind. They're always a couple weeks or a couple months behind, and now they're going to be into this where they're not going to pivot, and now they're going to be back where it's going to pivot again. So I think you had to look at the numbers, look at the different things in the market, and remember that the Fed, they're just going to follow what the market tells them to do. So anyway, we're getting close on time. We got 15 minutes left. Let's hit up the ECB and the CBDC stuff.
Let's do it.
What do you think of that? All right. So let's pull up slide number 13, please, Chris. All right. So this was a story in Zero Hedge, and I'll read it out here for the people on audio, the audio version of this. So the ECB says cash not fit for digital economy, dismisses CBDC privacy concerns. So in the digital economy, cash is no longer a useful tool, and a central bank digital currency is, quote, is the only solution, end quote, to continue the existing monetary system. According to a new paper from the ECB, researchers concluded that the CBDC, like a digital euro, could be the only solution to facilitate a smooth continuation of the present monetary system, despite widespread concerns that CBDCs would limit the credit supply and function as a disruptive force in the financial markets. The paper rejected these concerns as unfounded. And I didn't read all of it. It's a 20-page report, but I read a lot of it. And yeah, they just dismiss it. Oh, those concerns, they're not valid. They don't dive in and give you any argumentation about why these concerns are wrong. They just totally dismiss them. So continuing, digital money is critical in a digital economy, the ECB noted. Since cash is losing its appeal as efficient means of payment, a CBDC is a necessary tool to install. Although the research identified drawbacks of instituting a uniform digital monetary system, such as the sluggish pace of settlements, market developments, and adoption. The paper noted that a digital update of cash is crucial to advancing the two-layer system of public and private money. Blah, 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 blah. At the end, there is the important part. They're talking about two-layer system of public and private money. And throughout this report, what they're saying is the public layer is cash bills, cash coins. That is the public system because that's a direct liability of the central bank. And private money is what we talk about, the Eurodollar system, the commercial banks printing money. That's where money printing comes from private money. They call this a two-layer system, and they want the CBDC to take place of the public side, the cash, the coins, and the notes. So continuing, ultimately, cash possesses large economic costs without clear benefits. So it is by construction not fit for the digital age. Digital money might generate privacy concerns, authors warned. However, researchers say that there is a privacy paradox. Consumers will emphasize an importance to privacy in surveys, but they will give away their personal data for free or in exchange for small rewards. So that was what the Zero Hedge article had to say, but I dove into the actual report. And so that's where we're going to go next. Just stop. What do you think about the intro there, Christian?
I think we should just keep going, and then I'm going to save my rant for the end. But we've talked about CBDCs many times. So there's a comment on YouTube saying that ECB is going to be early with the shitcoinery. It's going to be part of their downfall. I tend to think that is probably accurate. But yeah, let's go back to you.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that comment as well. So going on here, we have, this is quotes from the report itself. DLT, remember that term, Christian? Distributed ledger technology. It's still around somehow. The ECB is still using it. They should just say blockchain, all the things, right? But okay, DLT provides the basis for the development of cryptocurrencies. Oh, interesting. Which could be used as a digital means of payment and support efficient contracting and decentralized settlement, including smart contracts. However, they are subject to significant challenges. In particular, fiat cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, are subject to significant price volatility, which renders them inadequate as means of payment. This is, by the way, the only time they use Bitcoin in the whole report, right here in that sentence. Stablecoins, cryptocurrencies, whose value is backed by a pool of reserve assets have been proposed as a potential solution to this problem. However, the recent failure of the poorly designed stablecoin Terra shows that investor trust in such arrangements can deteriorate quickly and also spill over to other stablecoins. I mean, they're just taking all of the bad spin and putting it into one paragraph, right? Moreover, the decentralization of cryptocurrencies comes at the cost of limited scalability and an excessive environmental footprint for consensus mechanisms such as proof of work. This makes them particularly unattractive for retail payment systems, which require a very large throughput. This issue can be addressed by moving away from a fully decentralized model towards a permissioned DLT. So they don't understand that permissioned makes it no longer distributed, right? Like, where only specific network nodes can update the ledger. Facebook's Libra proposal, in particular, in this revision, in its revised version, is a particular example in this direction. Okay, going on to the next one. I think this is my last. Yeah, this is the last quote here. So let's continue. This is kind of the whole summary where I think is the big reveal in this report. So while many central banks are actively engaged in researching the potential of CBDCs, they have thus far only been launched in 2 countries, namely the Bahamas and Nigeria. At the same time, some prominent policymakers have voiced concerns that the CBDC is, quote, a solution in search of a problem, end quote. And guess who said something like that? The Fed, Powell and Quarles, the old vice chair of the Fed. Anyway, while survey data shows that central bankers view a CBDC introduction as an increasingly realistic scenario, it is natural to ask whether some key objectives could be reached through alternative approaches. So just to break that down real quick, is a survey showed that central bankers say that a CBDC introduction is likely or increasingly likely, but not that it's increasingly a good idea. It's just increasingly likely. They think that the ECB is going to push them in that direction. Okay. There is no regulatory alternative that promises to eliminate the threat that to the 2-layer monetary system. Since cash is only available in physical form, it is by construction not fit for the digital age. Regulations that aim at maintaining its large-scale use are likely to imply large economic costs without clear benefits. Accordingly, the introduction of digital cash in the form of a CBDC appears to be the only solution to guarantee a smooth continuation of the current monetary system. So they're saying that without a CBDC, the current monetary system is going to fail. Back to you, Christian. What do you got?
Man, I mean, pretty much without Bitcoin, the current monetary system is going to fail. I would say that that's for sure. Like, if you have to, like, what's more interoperable with the current monetary system, Bitcoin or gold? It's Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin really is the only thing that could, like, save any of this infrastructure that's kind of gotten built up in the last, like, 40, 50 years. So it's really the bank's only solution. It's really only the neobanks' only real competitive solution. And it's the only solution that is actually going to get, electronic money technology into every person that has a cell phone's hands. So it's Bitcoin, not CBDCs, just like it was Bitcoin, not DLTs, just like it was Bitcoin, not blockchain. And frankly, just like all of those things never shipped, the only things that actually shipped were shitcoins, and it's still Bitcoin, not shitcoins. I think, and Ansel thinks, like, these CBDCs will never actually meet mass market usage. Like, I don't think these central banks with their forward guidance are going to get anyone to use this stuff. So we'll see what China can do. But my position remains that despite what the blogs say, despite what this research says, despite what these reports say, that CBDCs will not actually ship, and that by the time they reportedly will ship, the ECB is like saying by the end of the 2025, 2030, stuff like that. Like, where is Bitcoin going to be? Like Bitcoin's only 13 years old, guys. Like it's a baby. So let's take, I guess it's going on to 14 years old. But, where's Bitcoin going to be when it's 20, 25 years old, right? That's when you're eventually going to shift your CBDC. So where's Bitcoin going to be? So I think Bitcoin's going to be dominant. I think no one's going to be even talking about CBDCs. So I really, it's a whole bunch of nothing. Their systems are failing. Bitcoin is the only life raft, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, China, with all of their, authoritarian apparatus and control over the economy, they still have not been able to launch their CBDC, even though they've been in a pilot program for a couple years. Also, they mentioned in there the two that have launched, Bahamas and Nigeria. And I wanted to show a quick chart of the Nigerian currency here. So, Chris, it's the
We got
last
a hard stop in 4 minutes, but
4
yeah,
minutes.
let's see
Okay.
it.
So this is Nigeria currency against the dollar, and you can see over the last year, it's really been diving. I mean, overall, it's only about 5% down, but at the top here in the title, I put how do you pronounce it? The Naria, Naria. I think their CBDC, the Naria, has had 4 billion in transaction value, 4 billion Naria, which equates to about 9.5 million since October. $9.5 million. So that's about $1 million a month. That's what they're doing with this CBDC. Nobody wants it. Even in Nigeria, where there's a lot of unbanked people that need this type of stuff, there is no uptake for these CBDCs. There was no uptake. They had to pay people in China to do the pilot program. I couldn't even find any numbers for the Bahama Sand Dollar, which is their CBDC. So I mean, like you said, if they do launch, no one's going to even, there's going to be no uptake. There's going to be no adoption. People would rather hold Tether, right? They'd rather hold Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They'd rather hold dollars.
And they are. And they are.
Yep.
They are.
Yep.
Kenya, Nigeria, these are our Bitcoin hotbeds. Okay. So in the
Yep.
land of CBDCs, Bitcoin is dominating. I'm just saying the obvious. That's going to continue.
Yep.
All right. We
man.
got a hard stop.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all, you can follow me at CK_snarks. I've been dropping my rants on Twitter a little bit more frequently these days. Make sure to go check out everything we're doing. Go meet Ansel and I in person September 10th at bitcoinday.io in Nashville. Go to Bitcoin Amsterdam. That is October 12th through the 14th. That is going to be absolutely, absolutely special. I cannot wait to be there. Go subscribe to the Bitcoin Magazine or the Bitcoin Magazine in print edition. Get your annual subscription. Save on your subscription. Collect Bitcoin history. Ansel, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Remember to reset your calendars to Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. FedWatch will be live, and I want to get up to at least 500 concurrent live viewers. Push the like button. That's it, guys. Thank you.
Subscribe to the channel. Q says to subscribe. All right. See you later. Stack some sats. Peace.